Chapter 3751. Second more. The Lord of Time and Space, the pupil of the pupil has stopped, and in the void where I am, you can arrange it. Jian Wushuang secretly whispered. Well, give me 10 breaths, the Lord of Time and Space replied. Okay, I try to help you fight. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Master of the Blood Sword, what are you going to say to this seat, right? Master Hitomi stood in the void, looking indifferent. He did not see anything unusual in Jian Wushuang, but at the bottom of his heart, although he was full of vigilance against Jian Wushuang, he was not afraid. After all, he is the master of the strongest armor of the treasure, let alone a master of the blood sword. Even if facing a top master, he may not be afraid. He had never worried that Jian Wushuang would threaten his life, and he was just wary that Jian Wushuang would find a chance to beat him hard. Master Tong, the Red Cloud Realm has been open for 5,000 years now. For the past 5,000 years, you have been wandering on this third continent from the beginning, searching for the treasure. Until now, the treasure you got should be a lot, right? Jian Wushuang asked casually. Fortunately, this seat has some gains, but you can't compare with the Lord of the Blood Sword. After all, you have got one of the strongest flying treasures. Tong Tong said. How luck. Jian Wushuang smiled. Mr. Hitomi stared and drank. Master of the Blood Sword, didn't you just say that you want the special treasure in this seat? The number of special treasures obtained by this seat has been countless years, but I don't know what you said. Which one? No hurry, before you mention that special treasure, there is one more thing that needs to be resolved between you and me. Jian Wushuangdo. What is it? Hitomi stared through the void and looked at Jian Wushuang across a distance of 70,000 miles. Nature is the grudge between you and me. Jian Wushuang's voice sank. Master Tong, as far as I know, my Star Palace, including the 3 major free alliances in the early divine realm, have no grudges with you from the beginning. Even if before you and I fought, it was only because you shot against your ancestral lord of the sages of my Star Palace. Yes, I did hurt you during that battle, and you lost a lot of face, but that was also your provocation, not to mention how you are. This star field is well known and loses some face. It's nothing to you at all. But in the thousands of years of that battle, you have shot me 5 times and 5 times in the Red Cloud Realm, against the rulers of the Star Palace and the 3 major free alliances. This is obviously a person who deliberately targeted me. You should not deny it. Jian Wushuang stared directly at the pupil. I thought you were here for the purpose of finding it. Dare to ask for your sins. Master Tong smiled. The Lord of the Blood Sword, I admit that you are extremely talented, and no one has the talent of this star field. On you, you are far better than me when it comes to strength, but unfortunately, although your strength is stronger than this one, you cannot kill me at all. And you also know that this seat is offensive to me, so this seat will not end. This seat is still merciful in these years, although the persecution of the Star Palace and the rulers of the 3 major free alliances, but as long as they are willing to hand over Arcana, haven't I killed them? Speaking of which, this seat already gives you face. Looks like I have to thank you? Jian Wu's eyes turned cold. Thank you for your help, Lord of the Blood Sword. If you come to your door today for the purpose, then this seat will tell you now that you want this seat to stop and return to you in the next time. There are 3 main rules of the Freedom League. It's easy to give up 3 peaks to the Polaris, and pay the penalty to this seat, and this seat will stop. Hitomi sneered. 3 pieces of top treasure? Jian Wushuang sneered. When he encountered and battled with Hitomi before, he forced the Hitomi to surrender 3 pieces of the highest arcana to reparation, but the Hitomi refused. Now, this pupil in turn forced himself to surrender 3 pieces of peak treasure. Really, I don't know if I live or die. Although sneered at the bottom of his heart, Jian Wushuang frowned on the face and said lowly, Master Tong, you may be too much. Do you really want to fight with me and you will die? Are you dead or alive? Ha, Lord of the Blood Sword, you are the Lord of the Star Palace, and you have a close relationship with the 3 major freedom alliances of Taichu Divine Realm. So many people under your protection will need your protection. There is only one widowed person, who is so-called barefoot, who is not afraid of wearing shoes, and you can't kill this seat. What qualifications are there to fight with this seat for you to die? Hitomi laughed wildly. Very good, since there is nothing to talk about, Jian Wushuang said. The reason why he did not continue to talk to the pupil, that is because in his conversation, 10 minutes have passed. The Lord of Time and Space has summoned him, saying that everything has been arranged. I didn't want to talk to you. Master Tong's voice was also cold. The Lord of the Blood Sword, you just said that you know there is a very special treasure in this seat. You want to come to discuss with this seat. It seems that this is just a lie to this seat. In this case, this seat has no time to talk to you and leave. After speaking, Hitomi turned around and planned to leave directly. Want to leave? Did you leave? Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. Behind him, a pair of huge black wings spread out suddenly. Wow! The first power of Xian Guangxi Tianyi was triggered instantly, and Jian Wushuang's figure was transformed into a black thunder directly across the void. That's the strongest flying treasure? The moment the pupil saw the black wings spread out, his complexion had changed. Then he saw the black thunder of Jian Wushuang. So fast! It's too fast! A touch of shock appeared on Hitomi's main face. The speed at which the sword Wushuang burst out at the moment was indeed too fast, and it was astonishingly fast. You have to know he is also a very powerful elementary master, and the speed is not weak. In addition, he also has life-saving mystery. The life-saving mystery is exhibited, and the speed can even match in a short time. Top dominate. But now, the pupil found that Jian Wushuang burst out at a faster speed than the top masters. Even if he exhibited his life-saving mystery, the speed of bursting out instantly was no better than the sword unparalleled. This also made him abandon the plan to use life-saving mystery to escape immediately. Wow! Relying on Xian Guang's Tianyi, Jian Wushuang crossed a distance of 70,000 miles in an instant, and his figure appeared in front of the pupil. Chapter 3752. Third more. Seeing Jian Wushuang, who appeared in front of himself from 70,000 miles away in an instant, especially the huge black wings behind Jian Wushuang, the heart of the pupil was very unpleasant. With the speed of the strongest flying class arcana, it is really terrifying. The Lord of the Blood Sword, I don't know where the luck came from, even got such a treasure. Hitomi is holding his hands tightly. The strongest flying treasure, this level of treasure, even the top masters will be extremely jealous, and the primary master like him, there is absolutely nothing to be amazed, but this is the strongest flying treasure, actually turned out to be the blood sword the Lord of such a rule, was obtained. The pupil is certainly jealous, and he is very jealous. But unfortunately, jealousy belongs to jealousy, and he also knows that he cannot compete for the strongest flying treasure from the swordless hands. Not to mention him, even the top masters can't do it. Tutor, everything hasn't been resolved. You are so anxious, where are you going? The black wings behind Jian Wushuang exude heartwarming black light. His face was sober, and he stared at the pupil near him. The pupil of his eyes narrowed down. Although the Lord of the Blood Sword was stronger than me before, I can easily escape once I perform the life-saving technique, but now the Lord of the Blood Sword has got the strongest flying treasure. It's faster than the average top master. I want to leave mystery, it's impossible. However, although I am not his opponent, but he wants to kill me, that is not possible. The pupil is very confident in his life-saving means. But just then, Hitomi suddenly looked, and he had noticed an unusual wave in the space and time around him. This is imprisonment in time and space? No, it's not just that simple. Hitomi's complexion finally changed. Time and space imprisonment, including many unique methods of time and space, are usually performed in order to imitate the escape of others. But nowadays, the surrounding space and time are quietly arranged by such means that the other party's goal. The Lord of the Blood Sword, you are confining the space and time around you. What on earth are you going to do? Hitomi said coldly. Oh, did you finally realize it? But it's over. Jian Wushuang smiled, but followed by a wave, a golden light flashed out of the moment and merged into the void above. Banging! The earth trembled. and then an ancient and extreme breath slowly descended. The sky with the red clouds tumbling above suddenly split open, followed by a brand new world, and slowly appeared in front of the world. This world is beautiful, just like a fairyland in the painting. In fact, this world is a scroll world. Pictures of Shanhesh. Kowloon, the sky law formation, open. Boom! Heaven and earth shuddered violently. Among the scroll world above, there are 9 giant continents in the scroll world, but at this moment, dazzling golden light burst out. Full of 9 dragon spirit golden lights, burst out from the middle of Kyushu, and shot at 9 different positions in the void below. In a blink of an eye, a huge golden dragon spirit array was already formed. The map of Shanhesh, the strongest suppressive class treasure. The Kowloon Sky Team is the strongest killing move in the Shanha Society map. This killing move can suppress the world, suppress the strong enemy, and suppress everything. Now, under the guidance of Jian Wushuang, the Jiudao Dragon Spirit derived from the Jiudao Longtian formation is suppressing the void where Jian Wushuang is located. The perimeter of this void is in the range of hundreds of thousands of miles, all within the suppression of the French front. Just like the pinnacle suppression that the Axe Master took before, suppressing the surrounding void, so that Jian Wushuang can't leave directly. After the Jiulong Tianfa array suppresses the surrounding void, the pupil can't naturally leave in a short time. This piece of void, unless he can forcibly break through the Jiulong Tianfa formation, or if he possesses special treasures of time and space, he can freely travel through time and space in the world of Red Cloud Realm. But unfortunately, Jian Wushuang had made 2-handed preparations earlier, and the Lord of Time and Space had arranged the means of time and space in the surroundings. Even if the pupil really had the incomparable special time and space treasure, he could not leave directly. Therefore, he has only one way left, which is to forcibly blast the Jiulong Tiantian formation. However, this Jiulong Tiantian array is performed by Jian Wushuang's divine power, which is now comparable to higher masters. It also has a breath of cosmic magic array inside it, let alone the elementary school pupil. Dominated, even if the top master came in person for a while, it would not be broken. The Jiulong heavenly array and the space-time means of the Lord of Time and Space have all been arranged. This pupil has no possibility to escape this void in a short time. Jian Wu's eyes flashed a strong light. My heart is also settled. Compared to Jian Wushuang, the pupil had a sense of confusion at the moment. Repression of class treasures? And looking at this breath, it seems to be stronger than the average peak suppression of class treasures, and the hidden time and space means, the master of the blood sword, his purpose is hard to accomplish. Horrified, staring at the sword unparalleled. In the current situation, it would be too stupid for him to understand the true intentions of Jian Wushuang. With this arrangement, it is clear that the purpose of Jian Wushuang's trip was not to solve the problem with him orally, but to kill him. The Lord of the Blood Sword has delusional attempts to kill me? Hitomi was instantly furious. But this anger only lasted for a moment, and he immediately laughed wildly. Ha! Lord of the Blood Sword, how dare you try it, a ruler of a rule, dare to attempt to kill this seat? Joke, what a joke! This seat is the master who has the strongest armor of the treasure armor. Even the top master may not kill me in person. What is your blood sword master? Jian Wushuang is too lazy to talk nonsense with his pupil. All he has in his eyes is a monstrous killing. At the moment when the Jiutian Fa formation in Jiulong was set up, the statures of the Celestial Alliance leader and the Time and Space Palace owner who have been hiding in the distant space have also appeared, and the position of the Chaos Ho Shoshuang rushed over. Not only you, but a helper? Hitomi also sensed the breath of the 2 masters for the first time. These 2 breaths, one is the Lord of Time and Space, and the other should be the Lord of the Sky. Well, a primary master who is good at time and space means a high master, plus the Lord of the Blood Sword, 3 people. Do you want to completely leave this seat? The corner of the pupil's mouth was slightly tilted, which did not cause the appearance of the 2 masters in the slightest panic. Chapter 3753. The first is more. He really has nothing to fear. Dignified, he also has the strongest armor of the treasure armor, and his life-saving ability is not weak. Even in the face of a top master, he is sure to protect himself. Now, although they have fallen into the trap set by Jian Wushuang, it is almost impossible to kill him by relying on them alone. At least the pupil himself thinks so. He is now completely trapped in this void by us, and he wants to leave in a short time, but there are many strong players in the Red Cloud realm. Someone must have noticed the movement here. The pupil is beheading. Well, to do it, Jian Wushuang no longer wastes time. Huang Quan's Excalibur is in his hand, and his power bursts to the extreme in an instant. Jian Wushuang pointed out directly that there were countless sword shadows lit up in the void. These swords are densely packed, each of them exhaling a heartbreaking breath. Among these countless swords, one is the most dazzling and the most terrifying. This sword shadow is also infinitely enlarged in the pupil of the pupil. Master Tong knows that he is not an opponent of Jian Wushuang, but at this moment in this situation, he can't help but shrink back. I saw the red stick that exuded the destruction appeared in his hand, and the red stick extended out, and then smashed down at the most dazzling Jianguang. The two collided, and the power in that sword shadow was obviously far above the pupil's long stick. The red sticks in the pupil's main hands were slightly changed by the split, and the entire body was pulled back towards the back. At this time, the vanguard of the Sky-Slapping Alliance also appeared. The master of the Celestial Alliance holds a 3-meter-long cyan sword. The cyan sword is covered with a thick layer of cyan purple energy, and is taken down by the Celestial Alliance's cyan sword. Heaven and earth seem to be split directly by this knife. The Lord of the Sky, the name of the sky, is as open as a sword and extremely terrifying. Power is naturally amazing. The pupil's body has just stood firm, and the beast-sharp sword-cutting sword savagely chopped at him. The pupil can only barely wave his red stick to resist. Under the collision, Hitomi snorted. Good power! This Lord of the Sky has not walked in this star field for many years. His strength before is said to be worthy of entering the threshold of higher domination. But now, the power of this sword alone is among the higher dominators. It is also very tyrannical. Hitomi secretly said, the Lord of the Sky, because he had been sitting in the fourth heaven of the kingdom of God in the beginning of the early days. Indeed, he has not walked in this star field for a long time. No one came out and walked. No one knew of his strength. But so many years have passed, and the strength of Zhantian Alliance has improved, which is logical. A Lord of the Blood Sword can easily hit me, and now add another Lord of the Sky? He is not only the primary dominating combat power, but also faces two high-level dominating powers. Especially the sword unparalleled combat power is definitely the best among the high domination. The two of them joined together, and the pupil could not cope with it. They were completely crushed and embarrassed, and they had little resistance. However, although the pupil master was crushed and stabbed, he has the strongest armor of the treasure warframe, and the power of the two sword masters and the beheading alliance lord. Most of them are attacked by his strongest treasure warframe. It resisted, and only a very small part of the power effect really applied to his body, causing him little harm. The Lord of the Blood Sword and the Lord of the Cut Heaven Alliance, as I said before, only you two can't kill me at all. Tongzhou laughed wildly. The Demon Lord of the Celestial Alliance sank. The strongest armor ability of the treasure armor is really real. You and I have worked together to suppress him for so long. Several attacks have hit him in the front, which can cause him damage. But still not great, and his divine power is still full. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He could see it too. When I first saw this pupil, I broke out the strongest strength and exerted my strongest sword with the origin of the universe. The sword of Huang Quan was only barely for him to vomit blood. Divine power loss is still small. Now, although he has joined forces with the Zhetian Alliance leader, he has not given up all his strength, and the threat that the Xianshan leader poses to this pupil is also very limited. Jian Tunho, should you have a way? Zhao Tianwu, the leader of the alliance, looked over. Well, look at me. Jian Wushuang nodded, but followed the big hand with a wave. Magic Sand Realm. Wow, I saw a lot of black quicksand swept out instantly, covering the whole world in an instant, making this huge world into a black magic sand ocean. The pupil in the middle of the black magic sand ocean was naturally suppressed by this quicksand area for the first time. Is it the top-class treasure again? Hitomi's face sank, not surprised. When he met Jian Wushuang for the first time, Jian Wushuang had used this quicksand field to suppress him. He didn't care, even if it was suppressed by the field, but the effect of this suppression was limited, at most it weakened his strength slightly. But it appeared in the realm of magic sand. After covering the whole world, Jian Wushuang's eyes became cold again. Shuangguang realm. The secret lines on Zhuangguang's body were illuminated instantly, and time rushed. A lot of dark streamers burst out from the body. These dark streamers, like the magic sand realm just now, are sweeping out sweepingly, covering tens of thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. And after these dark streamers appeared, there was no friction or impulse with the previous magic sand realm, but they blended with each other perfectly and blended together. Black magic sand, surrounded by a lot of dark streamers, flooded the world. Shuangguang realm and Masha realm are the perfect combination. Realm, oppression. Jian Wushuang whispered. Boom boom. The world shook. The power of terror broke out, and the frosted black frost surrounding the whole body hit everything crazy, as if even heaven and earth could be easily hanged. At the core of this field, the pupil is only suppressed by the magic sand field at the beginning, but it is not at the heart, but now facing the new field oppression formed by the combination of the two areas of the Shuangguang realm and the magic sand field. Hitomi's figure is so stingy that he almost doesn't stand still. He only felt a tremendous power to oppress him, making him domineering, a little breathless. Chapter 3754. Second more. How can it be? How could this field be so overbearing? Hitomi's face changed dramatically. He alone wouldn't care too much about the oppression of the domain-like treasures alone. But now the combination of the Shuangguang realm and the magic sand realm is significantly stronger than that of the top peak realm. The oppression brought to the pupil by this moment is not much worse than even the strongest domain-class arcana. Hitomi's entire body was severely restricted, and his strength was immediately weakened. Moreover, the impact of this kind of oppression in the field is not only on his strength, but also on his response, speed, and so on. However, no matter how much pressure the field has imposed on him, it still has little effect on his body protection ability. Suddenly, Jian Wu's body moved. A ghostly streamer phantom flashed across. The pupil master had no time to respond, but Jian Wushuang still appeared on his side, and Huangquan's Excalibur had also come coldly. What? Hitomi was startled. Too fast, the pupil master did not capture Jian Wushuang's figure at all, and the cold Huangquan Excalibur had already been cut on his body. The sound of a metal impact sounded, and Hitomi's main figure trembled slightly. This is the frontal split of the body. The middle pupil did not use any means or attack to resist. Although he has the strongest treasure of the armor, he resisted 99% of the attack power, but the last one part of the mighty power still shakes his deity, leaving a hint of blood spilling from the corners of his mouth. The strength of the Lord of the Blood Sword is much stronger than that of the Celestial Alliance. If he can't resist the sword technique and hit me directly, I will be hurt as well. The pupil's face was slightly sinking. He also knew from the bottom of his heart that although he was capable of protecting his body, he couldn't completely ignore the sword's attack. At least the swordplay performed by the sword unparalleled. If he does not resist at all, and if she relies purely on the body to resist, even if he has the strongest armor of the treasure, he will still be injured. Although the injury was very light, but he was bombarded again and again, his injury would become heavier and he would naturally consume more and more power. Sure enough, even if it is too late to cast the strongest swordplay, it is possible for me to explode at my current strength, even if it is a random swordplay, as long as it is split directly on him, I can still hurt him. Jian Wushuang also realized this, cannot help but sneer. He doesn't want to be able to quickly kill the pupil, as long as he can hurt the opponent, this is enough. Followed by, oh, put. The ghostly streamers and phantoms flashed and changed in the sky. It's too fast and weird. Every time it flickers, it can easily appear in the void outside Baizhang, just as if it were moved nearby. The pupil has released the power of the soul to the greatest extent, but he found that his power of the soul cannot keep up with Jian Wushuang's physical change at all. This. Mr. Hitomi opened his eyes wide, his face horrified. But Jian Wushuang has shot again and again. Every time he shot, he relied on the Shuangguang phantom to move closer, constantly changing his position so that the pupil could not react too late. And each of the swordsmanships he performed, although not his strongest swordsmanship, were extremely fast, with extremely strong puncture power, and the pupil master had no time to resist. Clang, 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 clang. Only a sound of metal-like impact sounded one after another. The pupil is completely reduced to a living target, surrounded by swordsmanship that Sword Wushuang attacked from all sides. All the sword lights were hardly hindered, and they hit the main pupil positively. In a short time, the pupil of the pupil has endured dozens of sword light of Jian Wushuang. It's terrible, he's so terrible. I can't stop it, I can't resist it at all. Hitomi was trembling inside. At the beginning, he was not in a hurry, thinking that Jian Wushuang could not kill him at all. Even if he joined forces with the master of the Celestial Alliance, he could at best beat him. But now, under the pressure of that terrible realm, Jian Wushuang showed this horrible figure, so that he could face the sword skill of Jian Wushuang only with stare. It's like a living target, allowing Jian Wushuang to attack madly, but he has no room to resist or resist. Under such a crazy attack, even if he has the strongest armor of the treasure armor, each sword of Jian Wushuang has limited damage to his body. He will not care if he attacks twice or 10 times. Such an attack will withstand more and more damage to his divine body, and the divine power will naturally be consumed slowly. The most frightening thing is that he has no way to face Jian Wushuang's attack. He had tried his best to resist Jian Wushuang's attack, but it was useless. He simply encountered Jian Wushuang's half-dressed horns, and Jian Wushuang's sword hit, and he couldn't react at all. How could this be? How could this Lord of the Blood Sword have such an incredible body form? Trouble! Hitomi was finally anxious. The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space, who were next to him, saw this scene with no light in their eyes. I didn't expect Tianhou Xiaoyu to have such a terrible stature. No wonder he can be so sure to kill this pupil. The Master of Time and Space was excited. This body change, time and time, is like moving in space and time, and it is still moving close, changing positions instantly, appearing in all corners around it. This body style is really a bit scary. As far as I know, Jian Tianhou hadn't mastered such a body form before. Could it be the strongest flying treasure? The ancestral Lord of the Sky could not help looking at the pair of black wings behind Jian Wushuang. At this moment, the Lord of the Cut Heavens has completely stopped and let Jian Wushuang take the shot against that pupil. Under the watchful eyes of the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space, the pupil is completely unable to resist the swordsmanship sword art. The body is damaged again and again, and the divine power has been consumed. Not long, the pupil's divine power is consumed after more than 10%. The breath on the body naturally weakened a lot. There is a play. If it continues like this, for at least an additional quarter of an hour, the pupil's divine power will be exhausted. At that time, he will surely die. The eyes of the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space all lighted up. At this moment, they really saw the hope of beating the pupil from Jian Wushuang. The pupil, of course, is also very clear about the situation in front of him. At the same time, he also knows that if he continues this way, he can be really dangerous. Remember the first domain name in this book. Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3755. The first is more. This void has been completely suppressed. I can't escape at all, and I am fighting on the front. The Lord of the Blood Sword is far stronger than me, especially his strange body skills, which makes me completely unable to resist. Divine power, consumed too quickly. No, I can't go on like this. Hitomi's eyes were gloomy. He understood that if he continued this way, he would die without a doubt when his divine power was completely exhausted. There is no way but to use that treasure. The pupil master was determined, and there was an astonishing killing in his eyes. Lord of the Blood Sword, this is what you forced. With a loud snoring, Tongzhu turned his hands and took out something. What did he come up with? The Lord of the Sky-Cut Alliance and the Lord of Time and Space stood in the surrounding void and immediately locked their eyes. That's gourd? Jian Wushuang also saw what Tongzhu took out. That is a blood-colored gourd. At first glance, this blood-colored gourd is no different from an ordinary gourd, and Jian Wushuang can't immediately sense anything special from this blood-colored gourd. But the pupil looked at the red gourd in his hand, but his eyes had become scarlet. Was a frenzy. It's as if he doesn't have a gourd in his hand, but an earth-shattering thing that is enough to make the pupil the ultimate treasure in despair. This pupil, almost conspicuously, was driven to an end by me. At this time he took out this gourd. What's in that gourd? Jian Wushuang frowned. Haha, baby, my baby, wake up. Mr. Hitomi issued a big laugh of Sinlung. This laughter resounded in the surrounding void, and at the same time he had opened the gourd stopper. Suddenly, a suffocating and mighty might suddenly burst out from the gourd. It was a dark flame, and the flame was cold enough to tremble the master. It burst out from the blood-colored gourd, and the void of this red cloud world seemed to be unable to withstand the power of this black flame, and it was directly defeated. Then, a large block of black flames beating madly, blasting towards Hitomi's main body. In the blink of an eye, Hitomi's entire body was wrapped in that monstrous black flame, and his body skyrocketed. Hum! A suffocating and terrifying breath spread from the pupil, directly oppressing the audience. This terrible breath has greatly affected the surrounding area of Masha Shuangguang, which has been flooded all the time. The suppression effect in that area has been greatly reduced. This is it? Jian Wushuang stared at the pupil in front of him in surprise. Not only him, but also the next Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space were also shocked. They couldn't believe that the person standing in front of them turned out to be the pupil. Although his appearance has completely changed, the breath on his body has changed dramatically. Originally, the pupil was only an elementary master, and although his strength was stronger, the breath of divine power was at most close to that of the higher master. But now, under the cover of the black flames, the pupil's breath of spirit has soared several times. The terrible and monstrous breath is definitely much higher than that of the higher masters. Even if compared with the top masters, it seems that the gap is not large. Not only the breath of divine power, but also the origin of the soul of the pupil, seems to have undergone some subtle changes at this moment. The Lord of the Blood Sword. A deep hissing sound emanated from the main pupil's mouth, and there was a bruise on his face, and his face was completely twisted. There was unprecedented anger in those eyes. The ruler of your district can force this seat. Use your baby to summon the body of the magic flame. Even if it is dead, you are proud. The body of the magic flame? Jian Wu's eyes narrowed slightly. Let's go to hell. Hitomi's eyes flashed sharply, and the red stick that he held tightly in his hand burst out instantly. Boom! The air was torn apart forcibly. The red stick that exudes endless destruction, at this moment burst out several times faster and powerful than before, and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang in a flash. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He could cast the Shuangguang Phantom to resist it for the first time, but after a while thinking, he chose to wave the Huangquan Excalibur and greeted him directly. Spark-burning sun. Wow! An extremely violent sword light, fiercely cut out, directly collided directly with the Tong-Tong stick. With this impact, the sword Wushuang immediately sensed a powerful force coming from the Huangquan Excalibur. Under the impact of this mighty power, his entire body figure shivered a few steps back. Of course, the pupil's figure also receded, but he just stood back after just 3 steps back. This. Jian Wushuang's head was cyanotic. The next Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space are also shocked. Hitomi is just a primary master. 5,000 years ago, when Jian Wushuang first met the pupil, he could easily hit him. The second meeting, That is, in the battle of Shuangguang Yantianyi, he and the axe dominated the two. Jian Wushuang can easily be crushed. In terms of strength, Jian Wushuang is much stronger than Hitomi. This is well known. But now, Jian Wushuang collided head-on with this pupil, but it turned out that the pupil had a little upper hand. As soon as the pupil used the body of the magic flame, his strength suddenly rose to such a point. He seems to have more power now than I do, so there is no need to confront him. Although Jian Wushuang shocked Hitomi's soaring strength, he was still very calm inside, and he quickly shot again. This time he didn't choose to collide with Hitomi. Instead, he used the Shuangguang Phantom to move near him and rely on his body to keep attacking. The pupil after the possession of the demon flame has soared in strength and is almost close to the top master, but even if his strength has been greatly improved, in the face of the horrible figure of Jian Wushuang, he is only reduced to a living target. Call out, call out, call out, call out, call out. I saw the icy Jianguang ruthlessly bombarding the pupil. As before, in the face of Jian Wushuang's sword skills with the help of body skills, the pupil is completely unable to resist. However, after the possession of the demon flame, the heavy black flame on the surface of the body also contained an extremely powerful protective effect. Any attack by Jian Wushuang has to be weakened by this heavy black flame, and finally hit the main body of Hitomi, which will cause less damage to Hitomi's body. Chapter 3756. Second more. Lord of the Blood Sword, do you dare to rely on your body to fight with this seat? Just like flies flying around, there is no meaning at all. If you have the ability, you will be in front of this seat. Confrontation. Master Tong laughed, but at the same time his face grew more and more stubborn and distorted. Jian Wushuang didn't bother to care about him, just kept shooting. After attacking again and again, the main body of Hitomi will still be damaged, and the divine power is still being consumed. But the speed of this consumption is much slower than before. It's too slow. If it is consumed at this rate, it will take at least an hour or two when his divine power is completely consumed. Jian Wushuang frowned. Lord of the Blood Sword, aren't you strong? But your sword attack is on this seat, but you are tickling this seat. With such strength, do you want to kill me? It's a joke. Master Tong continued to sneer. Hitomi, you are just using your whole cards, not to mention that even if you have a whole card, you will still be a living target in front of me. What is the only thing you want to be proud of? Jian Wushuang's cold laughter sounded at the same time, and even if you use this flame body, it will be more difficult for me to kill you, but it will only take some time. Anyway, you are trapped in this void and can't escape at all. Let's consume it slowly. I can't kill you in a short time, but after an hour or two, I don't believe you can hold it. 1 or 2 hours? Hitomi stared, but then smiled. Master of the Blood Sword, you can't be confused as a seat of this seat. You are now controlling 2 major domain methods at the same time, as well as the suppression method battlefield, and has been using such a terrifying body, repeatedly performing swordsmanship to kill me. Although this time and again, my divine power is indeed consumed, but your divine power is consumed more. You are just the master of a rule. Even if the divine power is more vast than the main rule of ordinary rules, where can it go? Such a consumption, 1 or 2 hours, can you sustain it? Hitomi is telling the truth. Jian Wushuang now has too many tools to cast. Manipulating the Shanhe Club to exhibit the Jiulong Tianmao formation in Kowloon, and the Shuangguang realm and the magic sand field at the same time, and he has always used the Shuangguang phantom array in the Zhuangguanjian sky wing to move closer and closer, constantly looking for opportunities to Hitomi. The Lord does damage. Any of these means requires the provision of magnificent divine power. Not to mention the ruler, even if it is the true master, at the same time using so many arrogant means, it will definitely not persist for too long, and the divine power will be completely consumed. However, the pupil did not know that Jian Wushuang was a special life. It is also a special life of perfect grade. The level of life reaches the perfect stage, and its power is far more than the domain and imagination of the master. The master and even the master of other rules, it is certainly impossible to carry out so many means for 1 or 2 hours, but for Jian Wushuang, it is absolutely supportive. Even Jian Wushuang's heart had already been budgeted, and he continued to consume it at his own speed. After 1 or 2 hours, his power was at most 30%. In that case, what is he to worry about? Hitomi, then he'll take a look. Who can get to the end? Jian Wushuang smiled coldly, but accelerated his shot speed. Ha! Hitomi snorted coldly, and was trying to find a way to resist Jian Wushuang's attack, and he was constantly trying to counterattack. But in the presence of Jian Wushuang's body, all this is futile. Half an hour passed quickly. In these half hours, Jian Wushuang never stopped attacking Hitomi. During this period, he had no idea how many swordsmanships he had performed were hitting Hitomi positively. But even with such a storm, Hitomi's divine power has now been consumed by only 40%. However, the consumption of 40% of the divine power caused the pupil's look to change again. The Lord of the Blood Sword, at the same time, exerted so many methods, and continued to attack me like storms. According to his reason, his divine power has been exhausted long ago. But looking at his current state, this divine power is still full now. While receiving the Sword Warrior attack, the pupil master has also been paying attention to the Sword Warrior. He wanted to wait for Jian Wushuang's divine power to exhaust himself, but for half an hour, Jian Wushuang's divine power was still abundant, and the storm-like attack never stopped. Monster, the Lord of the Blood Sword is really a monster. Tong Zhu scolded in the bottom of his heart, but he still didn't have any fear. The Lord of the Blood Sword, it seems that this seat despises you, but your divine power is sufficient, more than consumed, and this seat is better than you, but even so, if you want to kill me, you are still almost. Hitomi sneered. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. It's all over this section, but the pupil is so confident? Could it be possible? Is there any other whole card he has never played? However, the whole card method used by the pupil is terrible enough, and then he will take out another whole card. Is it unlikely? And if there is no other whole card, where does the pupil believe that he can survive? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. But at this moment, the master of the space-time temple standing next to him, but suddenly changed his face and said, "Heavenly friend, just got a report from a ruler of my space-time temple, saying that he is 10,000 miles away from us. Somewhere, I saw Domination Hong, and the Domination Hong was very fast all the way. It seems that it is likely to be coming towards our place." What? The main features of Jian Wushuang and Jitian League are all changed. Dominate Hong? Grabbing towards where they are? Ha, finally coming? After hearing the words of the Lord of Time and Space, the pupil laughed wildly. "The Lord of the Blood Sword, I have to say that the means you arranged this time is really good, and the first chance to escape was blocked. And your strength and the means you prepared are even more arbitrary. If you don't have a baby bodyguard, you might really be killed by you. But unfortunately, you have made a mistake. You have made a mistake. This seat has not been killed by you in a short time, and when you deal with this seat, there must be many discoveries in the surrounding void." This news naturally, it circulated in the Red Cloud realm for the first time, and naturally it was introduced into the ears of Master Hong. Master Hong, although he did not have a deep friendship with this seat, but by chance he owed a favor to this seat, and this seat has his messenger sign on hand, although it was completely banned by you because of time and space. For this reason, there is no way to summon it, but Master Hong knew that my life was threatened and would still come to his rescue. Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3757. The first is more. Trouble. The look of the Lord of the Celestial Sect and the Lord of the Temple of Time and Space has become extremely ugly. Dominated by Hong, it is a very ancient and domineering dominate. In terms of combat power, although he has not yet reached the top dominating level, he is definitely the strongest among the higher dominates. Most importantly, this Hong dominates is extremely difficult. Like Jian Wushuang, Hong's body protection ability is extremely good, but Jian Wushuang's body protection ability is famous because of his body sword skills. Once the earth guarded, even the top masters could not forcibly break. And this Hong master, his body protection ability, relies on his body. dominated by Hong, he is an extremely rare Jinshi tribe among special ethnic groups. The Jinshi tribe is not good at attacking and killing, but the body is inherently powerful. After reaching the high level of domination, this Hong-dominated body is definitely stronger than many top masters, and when he was in the 3 battlefields, chance coincidence he got an extremely powerful mysticism, which made his body more terrible. Although he does not have the strongest treasure armor, but just the peak of the treasure armor, but still enough to cause headaches for many top masters. He has also played against the top masters, and he still has 2 enough. As a result, the 2 top masters have nothing to do with him. Such a terrible master who has strong strength and strong body protection ability is about to resist this battlefield, but is also the rescuer of the pupil. This is certainly not good news for Jian Wushuang. With a range of tens of thousands of miles, at the speed of Hong's domination, I am afraid that it can be reached in a short time. At that time, with the help of Hong's dominator, we will not have the opportunity to kill this pupil. Jian Wu's eyes were also sinking. The arrival of Master Hong, this is what Jian Wushuang did not expect. You know, the pupil's reputation in this star field has not been good. He has a lot of offensive powers, and he has never heard of his best friends. However, I did not expect that the Lord Zhu Hong had owed the favor of the pupil, and that Lord Zhu Hong was just on the 3rd continent, so he was able to come over in such a short time. What to do? The master of the Celestial Alliance frowned. Tianho Xiaoyu, otherwise we are leaving now, and we will try again next time. If we leave now, neither the Lord of Heaven or the Lord of Time and Space will be very reconciled. But if they are not reconciled, there is nothing they can do. The pupil doesn't know where to get such a strong whole card, which is enough to persist for so long in Jianwu without both hands. Looking at the current situation, Jian Wushuang before killing Tong. Master Hong must have arrived already. Lord of the Blood Sword, aren't you giving up yet? Hitomi's flames rolled all over his body, but his eyes were full of unprecedented madness. Jian Wu's eyes were cold. He stared at the pupil in front of him, feeling the breath of the pupil. It was so difficult to force this pupil to the point where he is now. If he gives up, he will be extremely vigilant next time, and it will be difficult to find such a good opportunity to kill him in the future. Jian Wushuang muttered, down a decision was made at a moment. It seems that only one trick can be used. Jian Wu blinked Lyman in his eyes, followed his thoughts. The void shook slightly. A large amount of black air flows swept up suddenly, covering the vast void around in a blink of an eye. God, it went dark. Without the clouds of blood above, without the light, the whole world is in absolute darkness. Silence. The whole world is silent. Here. The pupil is still standing in front of the void, but at this moment he is looking around with amazement. Not only him, but also the Lord of the Skycut Alliance and the Lord of Time and Space who were next to each other. They don't know what happened, but as masters, they can feel very clearly that the world at this moment is very different from just now. They even felt as if they were no longer in the world and the universe. That is the law of the universe, the breath of the law of the universe. It turned out to be a means of containing the laws of the universe? Oh my God! The Lord of the Cut Heavens and the Lord of Space and Time were stunned. Although they are in the same camp with Jian Wushuang, they need not say more about their relationship with Jian Wushuang. However, they didn't know much about Jianxi's whole cards. For example, Jian Wushuang's current trick is not known before. Now seeing Jian Wushuang exhibiting it, the extremely strong cosmic laws that filled the surrounding world have shocked both of them. Talented supernatural powers, primitive universe. Jian Wushuang stood at the center of this darkness. The whole man was completely integrated with the surrounding dark world, and his face was a touch of excitement. Primitive universe. At the beginning, the law of the universe came and gave him the gift of supernatural power. This move is the strongest whole card in the swordless hands. Since getting this talented supernatural power, he has never really performed it, let alone show it to others. Even on weekdays, he has not had the opportunity to perform and experience the power of this primitive universe. Until now, in order to slay the pupil, the two sides of the sword have really performed this trick. As soon as the primitive universe appeared, the vast void covered by the black airflow was all under the control of Swordmaster. Jian Wushuang has added a sense of absolute control. This feeling of control is like a move in his mind. If there is a ruler in the primitive universe, he can wipe it out instantly, no matter how much. At the same time, at this moment, he is also fused with the primitive universe, and his overall strength has reached a whole new level. This feeling is so powerful, it seems to be omnipotent. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and was very excited. But excited and excited, Jian Wushuang will not forget what he should do now. 10 breaths. The duration of the primitive universe is only 10 breaths. Within 10 minutes must kill him. The sword has no intention of killing. As soon as the Shuangguang phantom was cast, his shape appeared like a ghost on the side of Hitomi. Before in the primitive universe, the pupil master had no choice but to face Jian Wushuang's body, but now naturally there is no room for resistance. Long Huangquan. Jian Wushuang directly out of the sword. Cold and ruthless, as if able to tear everything in front. Jian Wushuang's strongest sword, there is even a hint of the law of the universe in the sword light. Under the blessing of the primitive universe, this cold and ruthless sword light directly hit the pupil. Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3758. Second more. Wow. Scary enough to tear all the sword light, split on the pupil's strongest treasure battle armor, even the strongest treasure battle armor, under this sword light, left a deep white mark. At the same time a mighty power hits the pupil's body through this strongest treasure. What? Hitomi stared. He was horrified to find that the sword of Wushuang had directly killed 3% of his divine power. You know, after he summoned the demon flame, his body protection ability skyrocketed. Sword warriors had performed so many swordsmanships before, and each sword's depletion of his power would not exceed 1,000th. After half an hour, he just wiped out more than 40% of the divine power. But now, Sword Wushuang one sword directly annihilates his 3% of the power? In other words, the power of Jian Wushuang's sword light has been improved by dozens of times? Top dominating combat power. Absolutely, the top masters are eligible for the attack, and they are the kind of top masters who are better at attacking and killing. Hitomi was completely panicked. He has the strongest armor of the treasure and summons the flame body. Even if he meets the average top master, he will not be too afraid. Although Jian Wushuang did not have the top dominating combat power before, his physical skills were too unreasonable. He continued to move his sword skills close to him, leaving him unable to resist and can only become a living target. The threat he poses is slightly stronger than the average top master. But he can still face this threat. And now, on the basis of having such incredible body style, Jian Wushuang's attack power has soared dozens of times instantly, reaching the level of top master. It was definitely a demon to him. Hitomi, let's die. Jian Wushuang clenched his pressure and cast a mystic light phantom and shot lightningly. I saw a strange and arrogant sword light one after another cut towards the pupil of the pupil. Under the blessing of the primitive universe, the swordplay he performed, even if it was just ordinary swordplay, that power had reached the level of top masters. The pupils can't resist, they can only rely on their own body but resist. As a result, the sword light bombarded, and the speed of the pupil's divine power was tens of times faster than before. You know, he only has about 50% of his power left. No. Stop it, Lord of the Blood Sword, stop it now. The pupil was finally anxious and finally panicked. He can clearly sense that his divine power is going crazy. The terrible speed is that he can't stop or change. Jian Wushuang did not intend to stop at all. After 3 breaths, Hitomi's divine power is only 30%. After 6 breaths, Hitomi's divine power is only 10%. At the 8th breath, dead. The sword has no intention of killing in the eyes, and the Huangquan Excalibur in his hand cuts out with an unprecedented violent meaning. Jian Guang split wildly on Hitomi's body. Do not. Hitomi screamed hysterically, his eyes rolled round, his eyes filled with terror and despair. And this sword directly annihilated the last part of the divine power left by the pupil, and his voice was immediately cut off. Call. Did you finally die? Seeing that the main pupil was cut off, Jian Wushuang also exhaled lightly. I have to say that this pupil is really difficult to entangle. I can say that he took out all the means to forcefully kill him. And for such a long time of killing, especially since the primitive universe has just been triggered, even though he is not easy, he consumes a lot of divine power. Of course, although he consumes a lot of divine power, his combat power is still at its peak. Let's go. When Jian Wushuang moved his mind, the surrounding primitive universe began to converge. The dark and primitive universe soon disappeared and returned to its original appearance. Later, Jian Wushuang came to the void where Master Tong was fallen, where there was a red stick, a battle armor, and a Qingkuan ring. These are all left by Hitomi. As for Hitomi's body, he naturally collapses with his death. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and all these things left by the pupil master were included in the Qingkuan ring, but the bottom of his heart was thoughtful. This pupil, although he is not very good, is only a primary master, but his life-saving ability is good, and he also has a lot of cards in his hands, especially the last fire flame. It seems that he has had many opportunities in these 3 battlefields in the past few years. They'll have to look up his fortune in waiting for the meeting. Primary Master, Jian Wushuang, is not without killing. The 3 primary masters, like Demon Star, died in his hands. Jian Wushuang also checked the 3 rings of the 3 of them, but did not get anything. In addition, the 3 dominating powers of Magic Cloud Star are not weak, but the whole cards in their hands seem to be more general. But this pupil, his life-saving ability is not the same as the whole card. Qian Tianho. Heavenly Friend. The Lord of the Celestial Alliance and the Lord of the Space and Time Palace have come to the sword unparalleled. Amazing! As soon as the Lord of the Cuts came to Jian Wushuang, he couldn't help but admire, what kind of method did you just cast that actually made your strength soar all of a sudden, and then there is about 50% of the pupil. Divine power, was you killed in such a short time? Heavenly Friend, if the old man is not mistaken, what you have just cast should be an extremely unique mystery, right? The Lord of Time and Space also looked over. After seeing these 2 people asking, Jian Wushuang couldn't help but smile. 2 people, they don't hide each other. After I refined the small astral world transformed by the 7-star divine realm, the law of the universe came to me personally. It gave me a very powerful willpower, and at the same time gave me a talent. I just performed, which is the gifted magical power given by the laws of the universe. Talented? The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space looked at each other, and a flash of anxiety flashed in their eyes. No wonder it is so. It turned out to be personally given by the laws of the universe. The Master of Space and Time sighed, but there was a hint of envy among the eyebrows. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang smiled. The 2 don't have to be envious. Although my talent is amazing, there are also some restrictions. For example, this talent can only be performed once every 12 hours, and every time at most, it can only last 10 times. 10 breaths? That's pretty good too. The leader of the Celestial Alliance laughed. He and the Lord of Time and Space can also understand that such a powerful talent, if not even a little restriction, it would be too perverted. Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3759. The first is more. In the void, Jian Wushuang and the Lord of the Heavens and the Temple of Time and Space talked at will. The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space are praising Jian Wushuang's amazing powers that day. Jian Wushuang himself also knows that the gift of supernatural powers given by the laws of the universe is really terrible. After the original universe is cast, his power can be skyrocketed to the top master level in a short period of time, plus the black light phantom. Under normal circumstances, he can easily kill higher masters. It is precisely because of the existence of this trick that he dared to say that Luqing is sure to kill the pupil. Master Hong is here. Jian Wushuang suddenly looked up. The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space also looked into the void not far away, where a figure came galloping and blinked in front of them. Hung dominated this way, very hurried. He is a person who has one say one and two say two. In this star field, his character is also well known. Although Mr. Hitomi did a lot of things in this star field, he couldn't get used to it, and he had no friendship with him. However, he once owed Hitomi a favor, which is a fact. That personal relationship was in a dangerous place in Quicksand Demon, one of the 3 battlefields. The two of them also met halfway, and both were involved in a great crisis. In that crisis, Hong Zong was almost alone. Dead, it was the help of that pupil that enabled him to get away. This human feeling, Master Zhu Hong has always remembered. Therefore, when he was on the 3rd continent, and learned that Hitomi had been besieged by the 3 men, Sword Unparalleled, Beheader of Heaven, and Master of Time and Space, and he was in crisis, he immediately arrived at the fastest speed. The purpose is of course to save Hitomi and return the other person's affection. But when he came to this void, in front of his eyes were only 3 swordsmen. The Lord of the Heavens and the Temple of Time and Space, and the Lord of the Sword Rule should be the Lord of the Blood Sword. All 3 of them are here, but what about the pupil? Master Zong narrowed his eyes and stared at the person in front of him. The 3 had a bad feeling in their hearts. Zhong Hong, are you here for that pupil? Jian Wushuang also looked at him, and smiled at the corner of his mouth. Unfortunately, you are late just now, and pupil Zhu has been taken by me. People beheaded. Beheaded? Master Zhuo was taken aback, and even said, did Hitomi be killed by you? Why, do you believe in Master Zong? Jian Wushuang smiled, but then turned over and took out something. The thing in my hand is left by Master Tong. Master Zong should know it. The sword Wushuang took out was the most powerful attacking treasure of the pupil, that is, the red stick. Seeing this red stick, Dominion's eyes narrowed sharply, and there was no doubt at the bottom of his heart. Even the strongest treasure soldiers he used fell into the sword without hands, and the pupil was naturally dead. As soon as I got the news that Mr. Hitomi was besieged by the 3 of you, I rushed over here as quickly as possible. I thought that the power and means of Mr. Hitomi could be held in your hands for a longer period of time, etc. I arrived but did not expect that I would be late at last. Master Zhu Hong sighed. He was also quite surprised. Hitomi's strength and means, he knows more or less, even the pupil's strongest hole card, he has also seen it played once. He knew that even if he wanted to be beheaded, even the top master might not be able to do it. But with the 3 men in front of him, Hitomi was beheaded and killed, which of course surprised him. Master Hong, I heard that you once owed Hitomi the favor, this time purposely came over to save that Hitomi, but now that Hitomi is dead in our hands, you want to shoot in order to pay back that favor. Revenge for him? Jian Wushuang said suddenly. Revenge? Master Zhang shook his head, but his expression was extremely cold. I owed Master Tong that this is true, but it doesn't mean that I have a deep friendship with him. This time I knew he was in danger, immediately rushed over, although he could not be rescued in time, but it was already considered humane, and his kindness had been returned. As for whose hands he died, it has nothing to do with me, and naturally I can't avenge him. Hong's words are absolutely convincing. He did his best to rush to the rescue as fast as he could, but he couldn't blame him if he failed to catch up. As for revenge for Hitomi, it must be impossible. Since the dust has been set, I will stay more, 3 and leave. The 3 masters, Zhao Jianshou, arched their hands, and then turned and left. This Hong is dominated, it's direct enough. Jian Wushuang laughed at this. Oh, although this Master Hong owes his host Tong, but his host is there, many masters in this starfield look down on him, thinking that he has lost his control regardless of his identity. Our faces, this Lord Hong is probably no exception. The Lord of Space and Time laughed. He came to save the pupil just because of the human relationship, but in the bottom of his heart, I'm afraid he doesn't look down on that pupil. I guess so. Jian Wushuang glanced at the Lord of the Cut Heaven Alliance and smiled. Well, Master Hitomi is dead, our goal has been achieved, leave here first. Jian Wushuangdo. Immediately, the 3 of them immediately withdrew the suppression of the surrounding void and the blockade of time and space, and left. In the Red Cloud realm, when Jinshuang's sword, Lord of the Heavens and Lord of Time and Space joined forces to encircle the pupil, the movement caused was not small, and many masters of rules had long been watching. Although the main rule of these rules is far away from the battlefield due to the relationship between the Jiutian formation of Jiulong and Jilin, it is impossible to record the scene of the war in a mirror image, but they were able to sense the end of the battle. In this battle, Hitomi was killed. The news also spread throughout the Red Cloud Realm and even the entire star field. The Red Cloud Realm, as well as countless strong people in this star field, shook after receiving this news. What? Hitomi is dead? How is that possible? Hitomi is not only a very powerful elementary master, but he also has the strongest treasure of armor. Even if the top master takes the shot himself, he may not be able to kill him? Who said no? But this pupil did not die in the hands of the top master, but died in the hands of the Lord of the Blood Sword, the Lord of the Cut Heaven Alliance, and the Lord of Time and Space. Chapter 3760. Second more. With the spread of Hitomi's death, it caused a big sensation in the entire star field. However, because the world was repressed in that battle, time and space were completely imprisoned, so that the rulers of the surroundings could only watch from far away, too far away, don't record the mirror image, even if it is the specific battle scene of that battle, no one knows, so everyone can only rely on their own guesses, how the pupil is killed by the three swordsmen. But what is certain is that after this battle, the awareness of Jian Wushuang by many powerful people in this star field has risen to a new level. It's normal. The strength of the Lord of the Sky and the Palace of Time and Space is not too strong. The two of them must not be able to kill the pupil. The sword Wushuang had previously suppressed the Dominator and the pupil together, and the strength was at a higher level. Among them are the top batches. It can be imagined that, among the three people who besieged the pupil this time, Jian Wushuang must be the absolute main force. What method and means he used to kill the pupil, this is a mystery. The figure of Jian Wushuang's three men has come to a halt from the void of the battlefield that engulfed Hitomi before. Jian Wushuang fell on the ground. The pupil Tong has spent many years in the three major battlefields. He has repeatedly disregarded his identity and disregarded his face to deal with the rule master. He has seized the treasure and opportunity. After so many years of accumulation, his net worth must be extraordinary. He must have many treasures. Tianho Xiaoyu, check it out quickly. Jian Wushuang nodded, and even took out the things left by the pupil. Needless to say that the red long stick and the main body of the pupil's table are the most precious. The long stick sword Wushuang didn't need it at all, just glanced into his own ring of war. And the strongest treasure battle armor, that is the real purpose of the three of them besieging the pupil. Now that the pupil is dead, the treasure battle armor fell into the sword without hands. You know, his body protection ability is extremely powerful. If there is another strongest armor of the treasure, it will be even better. The strongest level of treasure is not easy to refine. This strongest treasure is a battle armor. If I want to refine, it may take some time. Jian Wushuang integrated his consciousness into the strongest treasure of battle. Have roughly understood the requirements to refine this strongest treasure battle. These requirements are not difficult for him, but it will take some time. Don't worry, first look at the good things in the pupil's Qiankuan ring. With a hint of expectation in his heart, Jian Wushuang immediately began to look up the pupil's Qiankuan ring. This pupil is indeed worthy of having been in this star field for so long, and has no regard for the face of the master. He has a large number of treasures in his ring, and there are actually hundreds of them. My God, there are hundreds of treasures in the universe. This pupil is really rich. The Lord of the Heavens could not help but sigh. Although these hundreds of treasures are cosmic treasures, the levels are not too high-end. There are only 3 pieces of peak treasures and only a dozen pieces of top treasures. The others are only elementary and advanced grade treasures. Most of these precious treasures are not needed by him, and he has no sectarian power. Even his disciples Do and T seem to have them. Where are so many precious treasures, what can he do? Jian Wushuang looked strange. The strength reaches the level of domination, especially those who are very powerful. If they are the masters of a sectarian power, there are many disciples who need to be cultivated. What is the use? Not to mention that many times, the pupil is disregarding his face, and his identity is reduced to deal with some rules to obtain. Some treasures that you don't need at all, can you get them so disregarding your face? Maybe the pupil wants to collect more treasures, and then go to the Jyoti Pavilion to exchange for higher-level treasures? Said the master of time and space. It's possible. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Tian Ho Xiaoyu, look at the pupil's Jiankuan ring. In addition to these treasures, what else? There are a lot of things, there are all kinds of geniuses and treasures, and there are some secrets, and there seem to be several in this Jiangquan ring. Jian Wushuang said, and at the same time, those geniuses and treasures that can draw their attention, or all mysteries were taken out one by one. Those geniuses and treasures, although some of them are rare and precious, have not attracted the attention of the three swordsmen. On the contrary, those mysteries, one or two of them are not bad. Like the life-saving mysteries previously performed by Hitomi, the mysteries that can increase his power in an instant are contained in this precept, which is recorded in 1. Above the order. These mysteries are pretty good, leaving them to the Xingong Palace or staying in the early divine realm is a good choice. Jian Wushuang smiled, and followed him suddenly frowning again. Strange, I beheaded the demon the three masters of Yunxing, reasonably, the three masters come from the magical cloud star. The secrets in their hands should be more talented, but within the ring of the three of them, there is even one that I can see. No secret technique. This one is easy to understand. Although the masters of the three demon stars have a larger origin than the pupils, most of the mysteries they cultivate are originally on the devil stars. It is not surprising that they got the mystery. The method is based on self-revelation and stays directly in the mind of the person. The mysteries stored in the amulets like Master Tong's body are estimated to be obtained in those dangerous places in the three major battlefields. Many of the dangerous places in the three major battlefields have huge origins, but they have only passed on the inheritance, and there are no restrictions on these mysteries for a long time. The master of space and time laughed. That's it. Jian Wushuang knew it, followed him and said, there is another strange place. In the master's heaven and earth ring, there are countless strange geniuses, treasures, and mysteries. But why there is no such special spar? Special spar. The Lord of the Cut Heaven Alliance and the Lord of the Space and Time Palace both moved. Isn't there a special spar in that ring? The Lord of the Heavens bewildered. No. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Even if it is an ordinary ruler, there may be some special crystals in his or her ring, but the quality level is different, and this pupil, first, it doesn't matter how long he has been in the three major battlefields, he has been in the Red Cloud world for 5,000 years. In these 5,000 years, there are also many rule masters that he has slain. Those rule masters have obtained the heaven and earth rings. Is there a special spar in the heaven and earth rings of those rule masters? Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3761. The first is more. Mr. Hitomi has been in this Red Cloud world for 5,000 years. The ruler of his beheading is at least 10 digits, right? How could the master of the 10-digit rule not have a special spar? Those special crystals with extremely high levels are extremely rare, but there must be some special crystals with more ordinary levels? Tian Ho Xiaoyu, please quickly see if there are any special treasures in Master's Jiankuan ring. Sword Wushuang nodded, and immediately began to search for a treasure. Blink, half a day passed. During this half-day, Jian Wushuang carefully searched all the treasures in the pupil's Jiankuan ring, and after searching, only one treasure was completely unclear to Jian Wushuang. This treasure is the whole gourd. It is also called the baby gourd in Hitomi's main mouth. This calabash is the treasure that Tong Tong took out before? Both the Celestial Alliance Master and the Master of Time and Space looked at it. I carefully counted all the treasures left by the pupil. I almost know the usefulness of those treasures, but this scarlet gourd makes me invisible. Jian Wushuangdo. The Lord of the Celestial Sect and the Lord of Time and Space also stared closely at the scarlet gourd in Jian Wu's hands. this blood-colored gourd, but on the surface, it seems that there is nothing strange, except for a little bit of crystal. It is very ordinary. Even though the consciousness of the two was covered by this scarlet gourd, they did not get any information. But the more so, the more they felt that this gourd was extraordinary. Jian Tianho, please try to recognize this gourd as soon as possible, said the leader of the Heavenly Alliance. This blood-colored gourd is so extraordinary, I'm afraid it's not so easy to recognize it. Jian Wushuang said, but still tried to recognize this gourd. As a result of this attempt, he succeeded in directly confessing the scarlet gourd. So easy? Jian Wushuang was a little stunned. Under normal circumstances, the more powerful the treasures against the sky, the more difficult it is to refine and recognize the Lord. Like those strongest treasures, the threshold for refining the Lord is extremely high. And this blood-colored gourd may not be as valuable as the strongest arcana, but from the perspective of the pupil before summoning the flame of the flame from this gourd, this blood-colored gourd should also be very talented. Unexpectedly, the refining of this scarlet gourd would be so simple. In just an instant, the direct refining was successful. But Jian Wushuang was surprised that although he had already acknowledged the scarlet gourd, he still did not get the specific information of the scarlet gourd, but only felt an unprecedented heat and madness from the scarlet gourd. Buzzing. The scarlet gourd trembled wildly. What's going on? Zhuang Tianmeng frowned. Heavenly friend, what's wrong with this gourd? The Lord of Time and Space also looked over. I don't know what's going on, but I feel that this gourd is very excited and very eager at the moment, and this craving comes from me, as if there is something in me, it is enough for him crazy. Jian Wushuangdo. What's on your body that makes this gourd crazy? The Master of Time and Space raised his eyebrows. What? I don't know. Jian Wushuang shook his head and followed him to turn his hands and take out something from his ring. He took out some geniuses, elixir, including the precious soldiers, but the scarlet gourd was unmoved. Until Jian Wushuang took out a purple spar, this blood-colored gourd immediately leaned over very spiritually. Spar? Is it spar? Jian Wushuang looked, and after a moment of groaning, he opened the plug of the gourd, put the purple spar into the mouth of the gourd, and instantly the devouring force burst from the gourd and swallowed the purple spar directly into it. After swallowing the purple spar, the gourd trembled again. Apparently he still wanted it. Seeing this scene, the looks of the three swordsmen Wushuang became strange. I now finally understand why there is not even a special spar in the Qiankuan ring left by the pupil. It turned out that those spar were honoring this baby gourd. Jian Wushuang eccentrically said, "A gourd, but likes to swallow the spar?" The Celestial Alliance Master was also very surprised. Tianho Xiaoyu, do you still have a lot of spar in your hand? Try to feed it. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and turned over a handful of spar. In terms of killing, he has more rulers than Hitomi in the Red Cloud realm. In addition, he has killed a lot of strong men before. Those strong men have various special crystals in their hands. These special crystal swords are unique. He has been staying in his own ring for a long time. There are many, whether it is high level or low level, he just took out some casually. In his opinion, he had enough of these spar, which should be enough for this gourd to eat, but in fact, the appetite of this gourd was scary. These are densely packed together, like a special spar like a hill, but a moment of effort was swallowed up by the blood-colored gourd, and it is clear that this blood-colored gourd is still not satisfied. Even its tremor became more and more crazy, and Jian Wushuang could always sense the unprecedented desire from this scarlet gourd. That longing didn't come from the spar he took out, but from within his ring. What's in my ring? What makes this scarlet gourd so eager, so crazy? Jian Wushuang frowned. He also browsed his Qiankuan ring carefully. Although there are many spar, these spar are not the source that makes the blood-colored gourd so crazy. But at this moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes inadvertently glanced at a corner of Qiankanji, where an old and strangely shaped knife plate was lying there quietly. Seeing this knife plate, Jian Wu's eyes and pupils shrank sharply. This knife plate, he remembered it well. It was the first time that he had traveled to the depths of the magic Smoke Valley. When he passed the Arai Lake, he encountered a tidal wave, and this knife was born from that tidal wave and fell into his own hands. But when he first got the knife plate, the temperature of the knife plate was high and scary. He just grabbed the knife plate for a short time, and then put it into the ring. His divine power was directly evaporated by 5 points. 1. And after the knife plate was included in his ring, all the treasures in his ring, except for some very high levels, were all evaporated by the temperature emanating from the knife plate. Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3762. Second more. Who is that person? He's side by side with Lord Baidi? His name is Jian Wushuang. He is said to be a figure 10 million years ago, and his strength does not seem to be weaker than that of Lord Baidi. Isn't his strength weaker than Lord Baidi? What a joke! Lord Baidi has been a transcendent figure from the first era to the present. The entire chaotic world of eternity, except those ancient strong men who have been asleep, will anyone be by? Lord's opponent? I don't know, but since this sword Wushuang can be tied with Lord Baidi, it shows that he must have some strength. These rumors and whispers echoed in the hall. Baidi looked around, many of whom heard the conversation in his ears and couldn't help but smile. Sword unparalleled, you have disappeared for tens of millions of years, and this tens of millions of years happened to be the strongest outbreak in the chaotic world of ancient times. For the most part, there are many emerging powerhouses who have no idea about you. It's okay. I won't stay in the chaotic world of eternity for this time. It doesn't matter if these little guys know me or not. Jian Wushuang was calm, but, Baidi, let them be quiet, I say something. Originally Jian Wushuang only needed to show some divine power, and the practitioners who were easily oppressed were trembling, but Jian Wushuang felt it was unnecessary, and it was better for Baidi to speak. Stop, everyone. Sure enough, as soon as Baidi spoke, these discussions stopped immediately. The eyes of hundreds of strong men present all looked at Baidi and Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, say it. Baidi looked at Jian Wushuang. Many of you, some of you have a certain understanding of me, but many of you don't know who I am yet, but it's okay. I'm back this time, just to explain something, and I will leave after the explanation. Jian Wushuang paused and continued, I have to explain your affairs to the entire chaotic world of eternity. It is well known that the ancient chaotic world has experienced 3 eras, including the ancient era, the first era, and the second era of the present. Among them, the ancient era is the most brilliant. Even now, the ancient chaos world exists. Many of the sleepy ancient time strong men, those ancient time strong men, have amazing strength, far exceeding the level of the emperor, as you all know. But why did the ancient times have such a great strength? In fact, it is very simple. That's because the ancient times practitioners are all people from another world, and that world is a vaster world than the chaotic world of eternity. The vast world, so strong like a cloud, is far from being comparable to the eternal chaotic world. Like the great emperor, practitioners who are now recognized as the strongest in the chaotic world of ancient times, in that world, it is called chaos, and chaos is just a trivial person in that world, not even an ant. However, on top of the chaos, there are also the realm of gods, deities, and saints. Reach the sage, in some of the barren parts of that world, it is barely a strong one, but if it is in the heart of that world, it's still just an ant. Jian Wushuang said a lot in one breath. And listening to what he said, most of the hundreds of practitioners present were embarrassed, and many of them were incredible. Mr. Jian Wushuang, what you just said is true. Beyond the chaotic world of ancient times, is there a wider world? You have disappeared for tens of millions of years. Could it be that you have gone to that wider world? The great emperor is an ant? Even sages far beyond the level of the emperor, in some core places, are just ants. How is this possible? Jian Wushuang, are you kidding me? What Jian Wushuang said was really shocking to the practitioners of the chaotic world of ancient times. And because it was so shocking, it caused a lot of doubts. Some of them even directly refuted, even with a bit of bad speech. The sword didn't sink in color. Shut up. With a low drink, the space and time of this hall instantly fell into stasis. Many of the great emperors on that throne, except for those who had a relationship with Jian Wushuang and had a certain relationship, others immediately found that their bodies could not move at all, and their mouths could not be opened again. There is no way to say a word. They could only widen their eyes, terrified. It's really noisy. The sword was indifferent. The chaotic world of eternity is his hometown. He does have a lot of affection for it, and he is closer to the practitioners here, but it does not mean that these practitioners can question him or even provoke him. After all, he is a dominated class. If it is in the early world of the gods, let alone the chaos, even if it is as strong as the ruler, dare to challenge the majesty of the master, it will be dead. Listen, I do have time, and I do need to answer your questions. I am willing to tell you these things now, all just because you were born in the chaotic world of all ages. You just listen to it honestly. As for the letter, don't believe it, it's up to you. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and the stagnant space and time of the whole hall suddenly flowed again. Only those practitioners caught in the stasis of time and space can move again. But even after the operation was resumed, these practitioners were still terrified. They didn't know what method Jian Zhenshou had just used, but at that moment they were completely incapable of moving and could only be slaughtered by others, but they were horrified from their heart. With this hand, Jian Wushuang has proved for his terrifying strength. This strength is definitely far beyond Baidi. Suddenly these practitioners questioned the sword unparalleled and immediately disappeared. All that remained was fear and awe. And what Jian Wushuang said now, they listened honestly and dare not refute in the slightest. I just mentioned that there is a wider world besides the ancient chaotic world. Actually, this is not all the case because the ancient chaotic world and that world are originally one, but there are some special reasons that cause the ancient chaotic world to be destroyed. Completely isolated. Jian Wushuang is about to tell the history of the ancient and chaotic world, the relationship with the early world, and the location of the resealed circle. After listening to Jian Wushuang, hundreds of practitioners present, even Baidi sitting next to Jian Wushuang, showed shocking colors. Chapter 3763. Seize the house. The soul body enters the body of another person, forcibly destroys the other person's soul, and completely takes the other bodhi's body as its own. This is the housework. No matter in this star field or in the entire universe, looting a house is an extremely vicious method. Jian Wushuang did not expect that the soul in this blood-colored gourd would immediately rob him as soon as he awakened. Although he reacted for the first time and wanted to stop, it was too late. The soul body had already entered his body, and a horrible soul force had swept over his soul. Exterminate! A low and evil voice suddenly sounded in Jian Wushuang's heart. That soul power is really too powerful, far more powerful than Jian Wushuang's own soul. Although Jian Wushuang has the soul protection of the treasure, and his own soul is not too much, but in this soul power under the attack, his soul began to collapse almost instantly. There is no room for struggle. Only in a momentary effort, the soul of Jian Wushuang was directly annihilated. The ruler of the rules, it's too easy for this seat to win. After the soul body annihilated Jian Wushuang's soul, he smiled disdainfully and was ready to completely control Jian Wushuang's body. But just then, a large amount of soul power gathered frantically, and in a blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang's intact soul appeared again in front of this soul body. What? The soul body was taken aback. How is that possible? This place has completely annihilated your soul? Just now, he completely annihilated Jian Wushuang's soul, and he could not sense that Jian Wushuang had a little bit of soul breath. But in the blink of an eye, the sword's soul is intact? What's happening here? Is it? This soul body has a long history, and knowledge of nature is very high. After seeing the situation in front of him, he immediately thought of a possibility. Perfect life? It is the perfect life in the legend. Only the practitioner with the perfect level of life, the soul power, can be incorporated into every divine power. Even if the soul is completely annihilated, as long as there is sufficient divine power, it can be repaired instantly. The ruler of this rule is the perfect life level practitioner. This soul body was so horrified that it never looked like the ridiculous laughter it had before. And the soul that reunited in front of him, Jian Wushuang, looked at this soul body coldly. Who's not good at taking down your house, even taking me down? Court death. Jian Wushuang slammed, and instantly a large number of souls slammed back at the soul body. Not good. The spirit body suddenly panicked. On the strength of soul, he is much stronger than Jian Wushuang, which is totally two different levels. The frontal collision on the soul, he can easily crush and even annihilate the soul of Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang is the perfect life. Even if the soul is annihilated, he can immediately recover. This soul body has no way to take the sword. But Jian Wushuang can do nothing about him. You know, here is the sword of Wushan's body, completely controlled by Jian Wushuang. Before, Jian Wushuang didn't watch out. Only then did this soul body enter the inside of his god's body so easily. He wanted to leave the sword Wushuang deity and return to the gourd, but it is not that simple. I saw a lot of soul power madly hitting this soul body. Although each impact was smashed by the soul body, and the sword soulless body was annihilated one after another by the soul body, but even if the moth flutters the fire, if the moth is innumerable, it will flutter again and again. Come here, no matter how strong the fire is, it must go out. This soul manifests itself in this way. The soul of Jian Wushuang has countless incisive impacts. Each impact causes this soul body to lose a lot of soul power. Several times, dozens of times, the soul power of this soul body is obviously weakened. But the soul of Jian Wushuang is still reorganizing again and again, and hits him crazy again and again. A mere body of soul wants to take me away? Still wants to control my body? Really dreaming. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Now, I'll see how you die. Jian Wushuang was furious. He thought that the blood-colored gourd was a very valuable treasure, so he hesitated to give the knife to the blood-colored gourd to devour, but did not expect that the blood-wool gourd swallowed the knife, and the soul that was awakened was the first take his house. This is like a farmer rescues a snake, but is bitten by a snake. If he wasn't the perfect life, he is now 80% dead, and his body will be controlled by this soul body. How can this not make him angry? Therefore, Jian Wushuang will be so desperate for the crazy impact. The purpose is to kill this soul body here. This is in my god. You are hindered by me. You see and go back to that scarlet gourd at all. The next thing you face is my crazy shocks, which constantly weaken your soul power until your soul strength is completely exhausted. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. I don't care who you are, but since you have the courage to enter my body, then you stay here completely. The sound of Jian Wushuang sounded in his body. He was still pounding at the soul body again and again. No, no. The soul body was already terrified at this moment. The practitioners of the perfect level don't necessarily have a few in the vast universe. Why is this seat so unlucky that he encountered a practitioner of perfect life level here, and this seat should even take his house? This soul body is indeed enough to back up. He slept endlessly in that scarlet gourd, and finally managed to wait for the opportunity to wake up, but it was too late to be happy, but he immediately took it to a practitioner of perfect life level. The house of a practitioner who has seized the perfect level of life? That was a joke. A practitioner of perfect life level is invincible in terms of soul. This brother, this little friend, no, this adult, this seat has also been asleep for too long, and it is not easy to wake up, and it will be offensive if you are too excited. Raise your expensive hand. This soul body eagerly said. He has begged. No choice but to beg for mercy. Obstructed by Jian Wushuang, his soul body could not return to the scarlet gourd at all, nor could he leave Jian Wushuang's body. And continue to stay here, there is only one end, and that is to be killed by Jian Wushuang. He finally waited for the opportunity to wake up, but didn't want to be killed when he woke up. Chapter 3764. Now I know I'm begging for mercy? Jian Wushuang sneered. It's just offended to say something when you're excited. Is it just offense? If I weren't the perfect life cultivator, I'm afraid I would have died. Want me give up your life and honestly surrender your soul, otherwise you will die. Soul origin? The soul was startled. The origin of the soul is the core material of the soul, which can control its life and death. Except for the perfect life like Jian Wushuang, anyone will take the soul as the most important thing. Want the soul to take the initiative? It is tantamount to giving one's life and death completely to the other party's control. So many people would rather die than surrender their soul origin. But now, okay, I hand over the soul. The soul body only hesitated for a moment and then agreed. Agree so soon? Jian Wushuang was slightly surprised. He can be sure that this soul body must have been an extremely powerful man, and may even be a supreme. Does such a superpower really give the soul to himself? Jian Wushuang immediately had some doubts. But the soul body was very decisive, forcing his soul source directly out of the soul body, and sent it to the front of the sword without two sides. This breath is indeed the source of the soul, and it was forced out of this soul. This should be his source of the soul. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly, but still controlled the source of the soul for the first time. Immediately after taking control, Jian Wushuang got the connection with this soul body from the origin of this soul. Jian Wushuang has a feeling that he really has mastered the life and death of this soul body now. Did he really give me the origin of his soul? Master, can I return to that gourd now? The soul body begged. The origin of the soul is controlled by Jian Wushuang. It can be said that his own life and death are in the thought of Jian Wushuang. This soul body is also simple enough, and even the title of Jian Wushuang has become the master. Yes. Jian Wushuang no longer obstructed. Without the blocking of sword unparalleled, this soul body quickly returned to the gourd. However, even if he returned to the scarlet gourd, Jian Wushuang could still pass the soul source and have absolute control over it. What happened to Jian Wushuang's god was not known to the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space. They just noticed that a mighty soul inside the scarlet gourd drew into Jian Wushuang's body, and then the power of Jian Wushuang's soul disappeared briefly. This surprised both the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Space and Time. Fortunately, it wasn't long before Jian Wushuang's soul power recovered. Finally, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and a faint smile appeared on his face. Jian Tianho, what's going on? The Celestial Alliance leader asked. Heavenly friend, has something happened? The Lord of Time and Space also looked over. The two don't have to be nervous. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and laughed. It just happened. Following Jian Wushuang, the process of losing the soul body just described briefly. My dear, the soul in this scarlet gourd wants to win the sword heaven and your house? What a courage! The leader of the Cut Sky Alliance with a trace of anger. The Lord of Time and Space is chuckling. This soul body is really unlucky. He is not good at robbing him, but he is robbing you of Xiaoshenhao. You are the perfect level of life. On the other hand, you are absolutely invincible. If you want to lose your house, even if you are supreme at the peak, you will never be able to do it. But he is unlucky enough to steal chicken and not eclipse the rice. Now his soul is in my hands. Jian Wushuang smiled. The origin of the soul? The eyes of the Lord of the Cut Heaven Alliance and the Lord of Time and Space were all bright. Tianho Xiaoyu, do you mean that soul body has given you the origin of your soul? The Master of Time and Space asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. If he doesn't surrender the source of the soul, I will kill his soul body in my body. That's great. The Lord of Time and Space said with a smile. This soul body is so arrogant that it must have a long history. Tianho Xiaoyu, you have to ask quickly. Well, the sword was unparalleled, and his consciousness covered the scarlet gourd. For you? Jian Wushuang asked in a deep voice. Return to the master. My name is Demon Flame, from Wuyo Astral Realm, and is a master of chaos reaching the ultimate level. The soul body inside the gourd respectfully. Magic flame? Jian Wushuang looked. He remembered that before that pupil actively called out the body of the demon flame with a blood-colored gourd, and the body of the demon flame should be the hand of the demon flame. And without the astral realm, he has not heard of it, and it is not the astral realm of this star field. Domination of chaos at the ultimate level? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. He thought that this soul body was a supreme one, but he did not expect it to be a chaos master. However, he knows that the chaos dominates only the 3 levels of elementary, higher, and top. As for the so-called ultimate level, he does not know what is the ultimate level? Jian Wushuang asked. The master doesn't know the ultimate? Demon Flame's soul body was obviously a little surprised. The star field we are in now should be the marginal zone of the universe. The strongest here is only the top dominating level, and there is no ultimate dominating level. Jian Wushuang indifferently said. Is that so? Moyan's soul body became clear, followed by Jingjing said, Master, but I do not know the top-level masters of your star field. How many rules are incorporated? This. Jian Wushuang frowned. He didn't know this question, and could only ask the Lord of the Heavenly Sword and the Lord of Space and Time. In our star domain, as long as the 4 rules are fused, they can become masters. As far as I know, most masters are only fused with the 4 rules, while higher masters generally understand the 5 rules, but failed to fuse all 5 rules together. As for the top dominating level, I don't know if anyone merges the 5 rules. Tianho Xiaoyu, have you ever dealt with the top master before? Can't you feel it? The master of time and space asked. When I played against the Supreme Master, I did not see the 5 rules incorporated in her attack. I think she should not have reached this step. As for the Master of Pring that day, although he also fought with me, he did not do everything with all my strength. I haven't reached it. I don't know. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Magic Flame, is only the master who fuses the 5 rules the master of the ultimate level? Jian Wushuang asked. Chapter 3765. No, Master, you have misunderstood. The master of the 5 rules is only the second-order Chaos Master. It is far from the ultimate level, said Mo Yen. It's a long way to go? Jian Wushuang stunned. Magic Flame, you can say clearly. Master, this is the case. In the vast universe, chaos dominates this level. Most of the time, it is determined according to the number of fusion rules. The most common is the fusion of the 4 rules. Among them is called the Master of the First Series. This level of is the most mediocre and ordinary in the vast universe. Any third-level astral world can give birth to many such dominations, but starting from the second level, it's not that simple. The Magic Flame's soul body began to narrate. Master, you should also be aware that although the rules of heaven and earth are far from the laws of the universe, but under the premise that the rule and chaos do not involve the laws of the universe, it is very important to understand and master the rules of heaven and earth, and although it is easier to understand the rules of heaven and earth, it is not difficult to fully understand a rule. Especially after the breakthrough reaches the level of dominance, the induction of the rules of heaven and earth will be stronger and the speed of understanding is much easier than at the level of the master of the rules, but the integration between rules and rules is still extremely difficult. After all, rules have their own characteristics. It's not easy to merge 2 rules alone, and 3, 4, or even more rules merge. The difficulty is 10 times higher. Many people do and it's easy to merge the 4 rules to break through and become the master, but this is their limit. The poor can't integrate the 5th rule in their lives, so they will always be the masters of the first series. In the vast universe, the first level dominates are the most. Basically, 99 of the 100 dominated are only the first level dominated. The master of the second level is the fusion of 5 rules, and the number of masters in this category is relatively small. Of course, even the masters of the second level are still far worse than the masters of the ultimate level, because they can be called the masters of the ultimate level, and many of them basically integrate the 9 rules. Speaking of this, Moyan's soul body paused. Jian Wushuang heard, but his head was a little cyanosis. Magic Flame, you just said, the ultimate level of mastering with full 9 rules? The sword has no double-sided color. It's really difficult to merge rules, which he knows very well. You have to know that he is only merging the 4 rules now, and it is still a long way from the point where the 4th rule is merged to reach the threshold of breaking through the domination. The integration of the 9 rules is too far away for him. What shocked Jian Wushuang is that the rules can be integrated with each other. 9 is the level of heaven and earth. No matter who it is, the limit is the fusion of 9 rules, so it is called the ultimate. As for the fusion of 6 or more rules, for example, the master of the fusion of 6 rules is ruled by the universe. Call it the 3rd level master. Fusing the 7 rules is the master of the 4th series. Fusing the 8 rules is the master of the 5th series. In the vast universe, the dominator of the 5th series is already a top power. It can easily occupy a 2nd level astral space, or even a smaller star field. As for the ultimate level of domination, as long as it does not go to the depths of the universe, then the most prosperous and strongest places can easily become a party's overlord. Like me, I used to be a hegemon in a certain territory of the universe for a period of time. His Majesty ruled 5-star domains. Later, because I felt too boring, I ran to the deepest part of the universe, which is the most prosperous. The place went violently, but accidentally provoked a strong enemy and was directly killed by the opponent. Only the soul escaped by chance, and finally happened to enter the gourd by coincidence and fell asleep. Jian Wushuang could not help but pout. He had just heard this demon flame say that he was the ultimate master, and he was a bit dismissive. After all, he had contacted the Supreme. But I did not expect that the ultimate level of was so good that he could easily rule a few stars and become a party hegemon. Magic Flame, you just said you provoke a strong enemy. That strong enemy should be the Supreme, right? Jian Wushuang asked. No, it's not the Supreme. Demon Flame shook his head. What kind of Supreme is that? It's the deepest part of the universe. It's also a top-level existence. I'm not brave enough to provoke it, let alone if I really provoke it. The Supreme himself shot. How could my soul have a chance to escape? Isn't it supreme? Isn't that the one who annihilated your deity at the beginning, but also an ultimate master? Jian Wushuang asked. Moyan nodded. But it is also the master of the ultimate level. That guy's strength is much stronger than me, and it can even be said that it is not a level at all. How to say? Jian Wushuang wondered. All are the masters of the ultimate level. Why does Moyan say that the other party is not a level with him? That guy didn't just incorporate the 9 rules. Most importantly, he also learned a bit of the rules of the universe. The flame of the magic flame is a bit cold, the law of the universe, but only the supreme superpowers are qualified to be involved. But the guy has realized a trace, even if it is only this trace, but still let his strength reach a brand new can be said to be half-step supreme. I played against him, completely crushed by him, and there was no room for resistance. If I didn't react fast enough, my soul would not be able to escape from him. Is that so? Sword unparalleled. He is clear about the terrible laws of the universe. And as he expected, even the master has the opportunity to understand the laws of the universe, just to see if he has that talent and understanding. Magic Flame, they'll ask you again, what's wrong with this scarlet gourd? Jian Wushuang asked. This gourd is actually not a treasure, but its material is very special, and it can shield the detection of the soul of the General Master. At that time, the body was annihilated, and even the soul was severely damaged. I was at a loss when I saw this gourd, so I immediately ran into this gourd, covered my soul with this gourd, and soon fell into a deep sleep. As for the subsequent events, I don't know, nor do I know how I came to this star field. Moyan said. Chapter 3766. What about those special spar? And what's going on with your soul awake? Jian Wushuang asked again. This has something to do with my origin. Moyan didn't hide it. I wonder if the master has ever heard of the Tuanjin? Swallow the genes? Jian Wushuang shook his head. The master should have never left the star field, nor did he really wander through the universe. I do indeed know if it is normal, Xinyan said. The Tuanjin tribe is a relatively rare ethnic group in the vast universe. Most of this ethnic group was born by birth, just like the special life, except that the special life is unique. The Tuanjin tribe is a group. In the vast universe, the number of swallowing gene people is very small, and I have only run into 2 people for so long. The Tuanjin has a natural talent, that is, it has a strong sense of all kinds of special crystals, and we naturally like to swallow these special crystals, and we can even improve ourselves by swallowing these special crystals. Strength, of course, includes swallowing these special spar to restore divine power and injury. And as a member of the Tuanjin family, I naturally have a strong feeling for these special spar. My soul was hit hard and I slept in the gourd. I don't know how many years of sleep. Until recently, someone recognized Lord, let me wake up for a while. Oh. Jian Wushuang looked. Not long ago? How long is that? It should have been tens of millions of years, Moyan said. Jian Wu's eyelids rolled over. For tens of millions of years, it was only a while ago in the mouth of the magic flame? But it is also normal. The magic flame does not know how long it has been asleep in that gourd. For tens of millions of years, it may indeed be very short-term for the ultimate master like him. 10 millions of years ago, this gourd should be in the hands of Master Tong. Jian Wushuang secretly said. What then? Jian Wushuang continued to ask. Although the man acknowledged the gourd, he could not sense my existence from this gourd, but instead I found a chance at this time. The magic flame continued, you know, my soul is seriously damaged. I'm going to fix it by myself. I want to know how long it will take until I can wake up on my own, but if I can help with it, I can get a lot faster. So I slightly triggered some movements in the gourd, and also showed my desire for those special spar, which made the person mistakenly think that this gourd is an amazing treasure, and immediately sent many special spar into the gourd. A lot of special spar came in, and my soul repaired much faster than before. In the future, I simply used my innate sensitivity to those special spar, so that this person tried to get me all kinds of special spar and gave it to me to swallow, of course, in order to convince him of this gourd it's really a treasure, and I've brought him some benefits. Is that the body of the magic flame? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes. Demon Flame nodded. The demon flame body is just the name I lied to him. In fact, it was the gold-swallowing body I reshaped. Of course, a gold-swallowing body that is exactly the same as my peak period. It doesn't happen overnight, I can only wait slowly, my soul continues to fall asleep, and the body of the magic flame can also sense those special crystals. Let that person continue to search for various crystals for me. And when he is in danger, of course, he can summon this flame body, which can greatly increase his strength in a short time. Originally my purpose was to make use of the special crystals he found to restore my soul completely. As soon as I recovered, I could immediately rob him and take control of his body. Then I could plunder all kinds of things myself. Spar, this will reduce the time to shape the gold-swallowing body. Everything is in my plan, until now, and what's next? When Moyan said this, he paused. The next thing, Jian Wushuang naturally knew. The pupil was killed by him, and the gourd fell into his hands. Like the pupil, he thought that the gourd was a treasure at first, and gave all kinds of special crystals to the gourd to devour, and even to the end the cutter heads are all fed into the gourd. But I didn't think that the blade directly let the magic flame's soul body fully awaken and recover. The soul completely restored the magic flame. Of course, the first time I wanted to win the sword swordless, but I did not expect that sword flames was the perfect level of life. Cultivator, he stole chicken instead of eclipsing rice, but planted himself instead. Magic flame, you said that the blade I swallowed was blood iron. What is this blood iron? Jian Wushuang asked again. He would like to know the value of the cutter head. After all, the knife disc is extraordinary, and the demon flame is obviously damaged, and it will take a long time to recover. As a result, the knife disc is restored directly after it has been swallowed, but you can think of how well the knife disc is. Blood iron is one of the rarest and most precious special spar in the vast universe. This level of spar is of great value. The knife and disc you swallowed by the host, although it contains only a part of blood, it's estimated that there are only about 10 pounds of iron, but the value of 10 pounds of blood iron is enough to make the Supreme be impressed. Even if it was my peak period, it is almost impossible to get such a large piece of blood iron. I also did not expect that in such a star domain, You, the master, would have blood. Iron. There is indeed an incredible trace of magic flame in the heart. And when he heard what the flames said, Jian Wushuang didn't get angry. It's a pity that such a precious piece of blood iron is now swallowed up by you, and I have lost a piece of blood iron and nothing. If you do and get it, you almost lost your job. This. Demon Flames murmured inwardly, but followed him. Master, although you lost a piece of iron, but you got me as a slave. Stones have a strong induction, and the higher the level of spar, the more sensitive my induction is. In the future, I will be by your side. What special spar will you not get? Furthermore, how can I say that I was an ultimate master in my life, even in the deepest part of the universe? More or less, it is a bit of insight. The owner is a perfect life, and the limitations of the future must not be just this star field. I must go to the vast universe, and my master will definitely need my knowledge and experience. In addition, there is a gold-swallowing deity in the gourd. Although the deity is still in the remodeling stage, it should be useful to the owner. Chapter 3767. 3 Benefits. The first is the innate ability of the Tunchins to special spar. The second is the ultimate level of insight and experience of Demon Flame. The third is that swallowed gold deity. These first 2 benefits are not very useful for Jian Wushuang at this stage. After all, he is still in this star field, and does not need too much knowledge and experience. As for the innate sensing ability of special spar, he is now no special spar is needed at all. Just like the knife plate he got before, it contains blood iron, but he has no use in his hand, so he will devour it to the magic flame. Rather, it is the third benefit that Mo Yen said, but it makes Jian Wushuang care a little. Swallow the gold body? Jian Wu's eyes narrowed slightly. He had seen with his own eyes the scene where the master of the pupil summoned the gold deity from the scarlet gourd. The pupil himself is not the primary master's combat power. After summoning the gold-swallowing blessing, the combat power can rival the higher master, even in the higher master. In particular, his body can be many times stronger. Of course, Jian Wushuang is interested in this ability. Of course, the pupil's strength is much weaker than him, so the strength will increase so much after summoning the gold-swallowing body, and Jian Wushuang itself is the top strength among the higher masters. The improvement will not be too great, but it will also improve a lot. It may even give him the ability to fight the top masters. Magic Flame, what condition do you need to summon your gold-swallowing body? Jian Wushuang asked. This. Moyen hesitated for a while before he said, Go back to the master. After all, the gold-swallowing body is still in the remodeling stage, and it has just begun to shape. It is not yet perfect. Although the master can call it out and bless his own strength, but each time you summon it, the power consumed will be extremely huge, and you need to swallow a lot of special spar to restore this gold-swallowing body to the unsummoned stage. Is that so? Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed. Of course, if the master does not come to a critical juncture, he should not easily summon the gold-swallowing god, and if there is a chance, the master can also get as many special spar as possible for me to swallow, so that my reshaped gold swallowing also it will become more and more powerful, and after calling out, your blessing to your master will also be stronger. Mo Yen said again. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He understands the usefulness of the gold-swallowing god, which is the reformed demon flame, but due to some special relationships of the gold-swallowing tribe, the gold-swallowing can be like a treasure to bless his strength, but every time this blessing is performed, it takes a lot of special spar to replenish it. If the gold-swallowing body has not been used, and a large number of special crystals are often devoured by the magic flame, the gold-swallowing body will become stronger and stronger, and it will naturally be more useful to him. Of course, this is just what Mo Yen himself said. As for the facts, Jian Wushuang didn't fully believe it. This swallowed gold deity is a devotional body prepared by this demon flame for himself. It can withstand his peak cultivation and strength. If I really desperately devour all kinds of special spar, I really let he completely remodeled the gold-swallowing body, and after he fully controlled the gold-swallowing body, his 8 achievements can be restored to its peak strength. Jian Wushuang groaned secretly. How strong was the magic flame at its peak? It is the ultimate master, second only to the supreme, and the kind of anti-master who understands a trace of the laws of the universe. If such a superpower is restored to its peak strength, Jian Wushuang really has little confidence to fully control him. Even though the source of the soul of this magic flame is now in his hands, and he respects himself, it seems that he has completely surrendered, but Jian Wushuang is still full of vigilance against this magic flame. You know, the master of the ultimate level, who has wandered through the deepest part of the universe, who knows if he has any strange means to get rid of his control. If not, that is okay, but once you have it, you will have to work hard to collect all kinds of special spar for him, so that he can restore his peak strength. It is just digging for himself. Once the magic flame returns to its peak strength and gets rid of its own control, the magic flame custody will immediately turn his face to kill him. Jian Wushuang's vigilance is necessary. And just as he expected, the demon flame was respectful on the bright side, and the owner was extremely friendly, and he knew everything about the sword unparalleled, and he did not dare to violate it. He can't help it. In order to survive, he can only bow his knees, and can only bow his head like Jian Wushuang. However, it does not mean that he would really be willing to surrender at the foot of Jian Wushuang. After all, how could the mighty master of the ultimate level surrender to a rule-level ant? Even if the ruler is the legendary perfect life. This seat is helpless now only for you, but you must not let this seat find an opportunity, otherwise. Mo Yan's heart is already doing various calculations. He is already calculating how to find a chance to kill Jian Wushuang, and then get rid of the control of Jian Wushuang. After all, the origin of his soul is in Jian Wushuo. Jian Wushuang might kill him with a little unhappiness. This feeling that life and death are completely under the control of the other party, he is reluctant for a moment, but there is no way for the time being. His current plan is very clear, that is, wait for the sword to die. He is very clear that with the strength of Jian Shuang, it may be difficult to die in this star field, but one day he will definitely go to other star fields of the universe or the depths of the universe, and once he goes to a wider star field, where there are many strong, naturally more dangerous. Even though Jian Wushuang is the perfect life, he will die if he is not careful. As long as Jian Muzu is dead, he can get rid of his control. Of course, it is possible that Jian Wushuang will still choose to kill his soul and let him be buried, but he is not worried at all. The ruler of a rule, has a rough understanding of the soul. Even if this seat gives his soul source control, he wants to rely on this soul source to kill the seat. It is not easy to be afraid. What's more, there are so many dangers in the universe, many of them are fleeting. He may die in a flash of time. There is no chance of reaction. How can there be any chance to deal with this seat? Demon Flame thought clearly. But now he is still very powerless to face Jian Wushuang, and can only honestly offer Jian Wushuang. Chapter 3768. Demon Flame resents Jian Wushuang, but now he dares not to violate Jian Wushuang, and can only bow to his knees. And Jian Wushuang is also full of vigilance against this magic flame. The reason why he did not directly kill the magic flame is also because he now really has the place to get the magic flame. Both have their own minds. Flame, you will be honest in that gourd in the future. If I have something to look for in you, you must respond immediately. If you dare to have a bit of neglect, I will kill you directly. Jian Wushuang said coldly. Yes. Demon Flame was terrified. Of course, if it is possible in the future, I will get you more special spar. Jian Wushuangdo. Thank you, master. Moyan was another joy. Jian Wushuang nodded his head, and then waved the scarlet gourd into the ring of Qian Kun. After solving this scarlet gourd, Jian Wushuang turned his hands and took out the strongest treasure of the pupil. The whole body is dark and exudes a faint light of war armor. The surface of this war armor is smooth, but with a little bit of shackles. A faint, fierce atmosphere also slowly spread from the armor. Obviously, this warframe is a fierce creature. With my strength, it shouldn't be difficult to refine this strongest arcane warframe. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and has begun to refine the Arcana warframe. As he expected, the strongest treasure battle gear. Although the threshold of refining is extremely high, ordinary masters may not be able to reach it. However, Jian Wushuang's strength is there, and it is very easy to get the recognition of the strongest treasure. In just 3 days, Jian Wushuang refined the strongest Arcana Warframe, and at the same time he immediately got the specific information of this Arcana Warframe. Yujin Demon Armor? Sword Wushuang looked. Wujin Demon Armor is the name of this strongest treasure. The name looks ordinary, but its origins are extraordinary. This Wujin Demon Armor was made by a master of the refining machine after killing a master-level demon dragon, and using the dragon's dragon wallet to carry the dragon bone, and the master of the refining machine also even the soul of the demon dragon. Completely sealed on this Yujin dragon armor. Over the years, the soul of the dragon has been tortured, and the resentment has grown, which has led to a more intense period of warfare, and the power is naturally stronger. As soon as Jian Wushuang's thoughts moved, the Wujin Demon Dragon armor immediately replaced the Blood Demon Cave Sky armor, turning it into an ordinary black gown, covering him, and then Jian Wushuang began to feel the power of this Wujin Demon Dragon armor. Yujin Demon Dragon armor, being the strongest treasure battle gear, the body protection ability is indeed much stronger than my previous Blood Demon Cave Sky armor. Jian Wushuang secretly sighed. The strongest treasure battle gear and the peak treasure battle gear seem to be only a level gap, but this level is like a world divide. The top-level treasure armor can still resist most of the power in the face of attacks from the general primary dominance level, but if the opponent's strength reaches the high-level mastership or even the top-level dominance level, the top-level treasure battle armor will be difficult to bear. The final weakened power was also limited. But the strongest Arcana Warframe is different. The most powerful Arcane Warframe, even if the top master takes the shot himself, can resist more than 90% of the power, and those below the top master can even resist 99%, leaving only 1% of the power. What a shock to hit his master. Because of this, the pupil is obviously of average strength, but Jian Wushuang still has to spend so long to kill him, and also shows so many means to follow the whole cards. The pupil is all the same, and now the Wujin Demon Armor has fallen into the hands of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's body protection ability is much stronger than Hitomi. His body is far beyond that of Hitomi. There is also a body sword like the Guardian of the Earth. Now there is the strongest armor of the Supreme Treasure Armor. It can be said that the current sword is unparalleled. In this star field, it is absolutely possible to walk sideways. In this star field, no one can threaten him anymore. Even if the opponent is the top master, even if 2 or 3 top masters join forces, there is absolutely nothing he can do. Of course, if out of this star field, in other places, such as the strong master of the Lord of the Clouds, Jian Wushuang still cannot cope with it. After all, the top master of this star field, according to the magic flame, I am afraid that it is only the master of the first level, at best it barely reaches the second level, and the magic cloud master can occupy a second level. Its strength is certainly not weak. According to Jian Shaoshuang's speculation, the Lord of the Demon Cloud is likely to be the master of the 3rd series or even the 4th series. That level of is naturally nothing to the entire vast universe, but for the sword unparalleled, and even for this star field, it is an existence that cannot be provoked. In addition to its own body protection ability, this Yujin Demon Armor also has its own power. Almost all the power of this armor comes from the magic dragon sealed in the armor. As long as the requirements are met, the power of the magic dragon in the armor can be evoked. With the power of the magic dragon, the strength can be achieved. One step further. After Jian Wushuang recognized Wujin Demon Armor, he knew that the Wujin Demon Armor had 4 powers in total. The first power is to stimulate the soul of a demon dragon. As for the conditions for activation, most of the masters can achieve it. The second power is to inspire 30% of the dragon's soul, and it is necessary to grasp the breath of the law of the universe before it can be triggered. The third power, 60% of the soul of the demon dragon, needs to understand a bit of the law of the universe. The fourth most powerful power, the soul of the 10% demon dragon, is naturally more demanding. The pupil himself is not very strong. Although he owns the Wujin demon armor, at best, he can only evoke the first power and stimulate the soul of a demon dragon. I am afraid that his ability to improve is very limited. And I, although only the master of the rules, but I have long grasped the breadth of the laws of the universe, but it can barely stimulate the second power of this Wujin demon armor. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lighted. Stand up. Try it. The sword Wushuang's idea moved, and the second power of Wujin demon armor suddenly triggered. The sound of a dragon whispered suddenly from heaven to earth. This dragon mingled with monstrous resentment, and then a majestic evil spirit surged out of the Wujin demon dragon armor, directly covering the body of the sword, unparalleled sword. The moment the evil spirit covered the whole body, Jian Wushuang also clearly sensed his own strength change. My power seems to have improved a lot? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and slammed his hands. Click, the space almost exploded by him. Chapter 3769. This power is probably too strong. Jian Wushuang's figure was a little excited, and his eyes were full of surprises. He had thought that the second power of the Wujin demon dragon armor would not be greatly enhanced. After all, it was only 30% of the power of demon dragons. But in fact, these 30% of the dragon's power blessed his strength too much. Now he doesn't use any mystery and means at all, but the power that can be instantaneously erupted. The sword Wushuang still feels slightly stronger than the general higher master. Almost approaching their peak power. You know, he has not performed the magical power of life, has not performed the sky-cutting technique, and has not used the willpower given by the laws of the universe. The power is so arrogant without using these things. If he bursts out with all his strength, then the power, I am afraid that it is no longer weaker than the average top master. With the strength of 30% of the dragons evoked by the Wujin demon armor, my power should not be much weaker than the top master. On swordplay and the perception of the origin of the Kendo universe, I will never be better than the top master. Weak? Plus I have the strongest flying class such as Shuangguang Yantianyi, and I use the Shuangguang Phantom and the suppression in the field. Now I really want to find a real top master to learn from each other. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. Top dominate he also played against. But this so-called confrontation is just to save lives in the other's hands. The top master can't kill him, but he can easily crush him. This sword is very clear. But now, with the Wujin demon armor, let him have the power that is comparable to the top master, but he is looking forward to really fighting against the top master. He now has absolute self-confidence, and if he meets the top masters, he is definitely qualified for the first battle. And if the original universe of talents is displayed, within 10 breaths, he can even suppress ordinary top masters. Jiantianho, how about the armor? The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space looked at it. Very good. Jian Wushuang stood up with a smile on his mouth. With this strongest treasure, not only has my body protection ability reached a whole new level again, but my strength can also be improved than before. The cut. Oh. The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space looked at each other. Jian Wushuang's previous strength is already strong enough in their eyes, and now it has improved a bit? Is it possible to compete with the top masters? Once you got the strongest Arcana Warframe, our purpose of coming to the Red Cloud Realm this time has been achieved, and you also got one of the most powerful flying Arcana, which can be said to be a big surprise, as for the next. Although there are still thousands of years before the Red Cloud Realm will be closed, it does not matter whether or not you can get any treasures for the remaining thousands of years. Well, Jian Wushuang nodded. On Arcana, now he not only has the strongest attacking Arcana, but also the strongest Arcana battle gear, the strongest flying Arcana, and the strongest suppressing Arcana. It can be said that he has the strongest Arcana in all aspects. He basically has it. The only thing missing is probably the strongest Arcana in the field. However, he has the top of the field category, and the combination of the two areas of the Shuangguang realm in Zhuangguang's Tianyi, the field power is also close to the strongest domain class. As the Lord of Time and Space has said, his gains in the Red Cloud realm have been huge in recent years, and even exceeded expectations long ago. As for whether he can get other treasures, it is no longer necessary to force them. Jian Tianho, what are your plans for the next? The leader of the Celestial Alliance asked. After I got the Wujin Demon Dragon armor, my strength has improved a lot. Now I really want to go and see the top masters. Now the top masters of this star field are almost in this red cloud world, so I plan to continue rush here, not to get the treasure, but to hone your sword skills, by the way to find those top masters to fight. Sword Wushuangdo. Okay, with your current strength, when you meet the top master, even if you can't save your life, there is no problem at all. I and Zhu Tian will not hinder you, and you continue to fight here, said the master of time and space. Jian Wushuang nodded. By the way, the legend of the Red Cloud Realm, that is, the stepping Tianfeng, don't forget it. The master of time and space again urged, if you can, you go to the stepping Tianfeng earlier to use your talent strength, maybe there is a chance to break through. I remember. Jian Wushuang answered. Jian Wushuang will never forget that stepping to the peak of the sky. He still wants to spend some time in the Red Cloud Realm. It is best to have a fight with one or two top masters. When the fight is over, he will go to Tianfeng. The Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space left, and Jian Wushuang continued to wander in this red cloud world. But now, he has no ideas or thoughts about those precious treasures born in the Red Cloud Realm. His purpose is only to fight with those top masters, so naturally he doesn't need to stay on this third continent, but to go after the continents with top dominance existed, they began to wander. For more than 5,000 years since the opening of the Red Cloud Realm, Jian Wushuang, together with the Lord of the Heavens and the Temple of Time and Space, joined forces to kill the pupil. This battle shook the entire Red Cloud Realm. 400 years later, on the second continent, in a battle for supreme treasure, Jian Wushuang and an extremely powerful high-level master, Bingu, dominated the encounter. The Ice Fox dominates, but it is a high-ranking master. Its combat power is definitely the top one among the high-ranking masters, and it is better than the Axe Master. After the encounter, Jian Wushuang directly challenged the Ice Fox Master, and the two fought. As a result, the battle only lasted for a moment, and the Ice Fox Master conceded directly, admitting that he was not his opponent. The 6,600 years opened by the Red Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang once again encountered the Master of Evil. Evil dominate, that is one of the hegemons in this star field. Although the combat power is not as good as the top master, it is one of the few people in this star field who dares to challenge the top master. He attacked with mighty power, far surpassing ordinary high masters. He was also very good at speed and body protection ability, and there were many mysterious methods, which was no weakness. Because of this, many people in this star field think that the evil dominator is the first person under the top domination. However, when encountering Jian Wushuang, and after a battle, the name of the first person under this top dominion changed immediately. This battle was extremely fierce. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang only used the power of will given by the magical power of life, celestial spells, and the laws of the universe. With the advantages in the field, he battled with evil and dominated it. Can follow the sword Wushuang to cast the Shuangguang Phantom Method. Chapter 3770. The Shuangguang Phantom Method is a bit too scary. Once cast, even if the evil master can't keep up with the speed of Jian Wushuang, it is easily suppressed by Jian Wushuang. Next, there was a complete one-sided suppression, and the evil lord could not even find many opportunities to fight back. So it didn't take long before the evil lord conceded. Since then, the first person dominated by the top has become sword unparalleled. In the 7,500th year of the opening of the Red Cloud Realm, on the first continent, Jian Wushuang finally encountered a top master. The top master is the Empty Master. This is a top master with terrific fame and extremely terrible strength. His Majesty the Emperor of the Air also has a huge force. This force is no less than the Beihai Palace under the leadership of Tianpeng, and is even slightly stronger than the Beihai Palace to a certain extent. And the decisive killer rises in the wind, stepping on the endless skeletal bones. Perhaps he may not be stronger than Tianpeng's dominance in terms of strength, but he is undoubtedly more awesome or afraid. Before Jian Wushuang heard that the empty owner was rushing on the first continent, he deliberately rushed over. After encountering the empty owner, he was immediately overjoyed and went straight up to challenge without saying a word. As the top master, the empty master claimed his identity and would not go to the trouble of the weak, but if anyone did not open his eyes to provoke him, he would kill him without mercy. So when Jian Wushuang took the initiative to challenge, he shot without hesitation. In this battle, the fighting sky was dark and many people watched the battle. And the final result of this battle was even more horrifying to everyone. You know, before Jian Wushuang fought against the empty master, almost everyone thought that the battle was one-sided. After all, the empty master was the top master and had been famous for a long time. And the sword, unparalleled, even if the combat power is extraordinary, is known as the first person under the top master, but he is just a ruler? In many people's opinion, how can a ruler have a limit against the sky? It is already incredible to be able to defeat a high-level master. As for the top masters, few people think so. In fact, in this battle, sword warriors broke out with full force, many methods of mystic skills were launched at the same time, and it also triggered the strength of 30% of the dragons in Wujin demon armor, which instantly increased its power to the level of the top master. And his sword skills are also extremely powerful, in conjunction with the Shuangguang Phantom method, and fight against the empty master, in a short time did not fall in the slightest. Of course, the empty master is the empty master after all. After a fierce battle with Jian Wushuang, he finally went all out, and the secret technique was also launched, and finally the sword Wushuang reluctantly suppressed. But it was only barely suppressed. The empty owner also found himself unable to defeat Jian Wushuang directly. Finally, after nearly half an hour of fierce fighting, the two finally stopped. After the end of this battle, the empty master announced to the outside that Jian Wushuang already has the top dominating combat power. As soon as the news spread, the entire Red Cloud realm became a sensation. You know, Jian Wushuang is just a ruler? This is confirmed by several top masters, and even the top masters agree that Jian Wushuang is only the master of rules, so it is naturally impossible for him to rely on mystery to hide his cultivation. And the ruler has the top dominator's combat power, which is really too scary. On the first continent, above the vast void, Jian Wushuang was slowly moving forward, and at the same time he was chatting with the Lord of the Heavens and the Lord of Time and Space and the Shen Shinto. Tian Ho Xiaoyu, you do and Ti no. Now the entire Red Cloud realm and even the entire star field are completely sensational. Although I am in the Xingong Palace, there are already a lot of masters who have sent me messages to have a good relationship with me, especially the leaders of some forces in this star domain all congratulated me and came to make good friends with me. Honestly, my star house has also existed in this star field for many years and has a certain status in this star field, but this position is only average among the many forces in this star field, but it's completely different. Shen Shinto laughed. It's normal. Although there are some strong players in this star field, there are only 4 or 5 top masters, at most 6 or 7. Any top master can go sideways in this star field. No one dared to provoke me. Before that, my star palace relied on a few of us to sit in town. At that time, I, Jikin, and Tianzu had not publicly stated their position. It can be said that the star palace is mysterious God. How many people have the heart in mind? But now, as soon as we have stated our position, the star palace has several more masters at once, and more importantly, Tianho Xiaoyu is now recognized as having the top master's fighting power. Don't pay attention? The Lord of Time and Space also laughed aloud. Yes, the top master is different from the ordinary primary master and higher master. This is the strongest combat power in this star field. There is such a combat power. The star palace is absolutely no one in this star field. Dare to provoke it, even if we are a little ambitious, we can easily become the top ruler of this star field, just like Beihai Palace. Beihai Palace is a big hegemon in this star field. It is headed by Tianpeng, who dominates this top master. His Majesty also has 2 masters, and the Beihai Palace also has a profound heritage. However, the current Xingong Palace, but the number of dominating more than Beihai Palace, the top dominated combat power, there are swords in Wushuang sit, is not weaker than Beihai Palace. What is lacking is the bottom line and the rule of the main level of combat power. But the bottom line can be plundered, such as to destroy some other forces and plunder resources. And the ruler is better. www. Novel. After Jian Wushuang's fame is out, many strong people are eager to join the Star Palace. As long as the Star Palace is willing, they can gather a large group of rules. Master of the strong level. Hearing these people's conversation, Jian Wushuang only smiled slightly. Although the entire star field is now saying that he is the most terrible evil in this star field history, the master level of the rule has the top dominating combat power, but in fact Jian Wushuang himself is very clear. His master Xian Yi, originally at the level of the rule master, he also has the top dominating combat power, but it's not long after Xian Yi had that combat power, and he didn't have time to show his strength in this star field, so I know this. Not much. In other words, he is not the first genius in the history of this star field, at least his master is in front of him. Chapter 3771. Of course, the reason why his master Xian Yi was able to match the top masters at the level of rule masters, in addition to being a perfect life in itself, is mainly because of that town monument. Xuanyi was able to reach the top dominating level just because he had mastered the Zhentian monument. Although Jian Wushuang also relied on the power of the treasure, but his own strength still occupies a large factor, so to speak. Even though he can't say that he surpassed his master, at least he can barely compare with his master. I've already had a battle with the top master, and I don't need to continue in this red cloud world anymore. It's time to set out for the 7th continent and take a look at Tianfeng. Wushuang laughed. Jian Tianho, are you going to step on the peak of the sky? Asked the leader of the Celestial Alliance. Jian Wushuang nodded. Okay, good luck to you. Haha. I hope you can become the first person in this star field to cross the Tianfeng peak. The master of space and time also laughed. They are very relaxed inside. Tianfeng is a legend of the Red Cloud realm. No one has been able to pass the test on Tianfeng, but although the test on Tianfeng is extremely difficult, there is no danger of his life. Even if they can't make it, they can retreat. They will naturally not worry. Jian Wushuang smiled, and soon swept towards the 7th continent where Tianfeng was located. The 7 continents of the Red Cloud realm, the 1st to the 6th continent, are all scattered around. Only the 7th continent is at the center of the other continents. And Tianfeng is located at the center of the 7th continent. At the speed of the sword unparalleled, it didn't take long before they came to the 7th continent. There are still a large number of practitioners on this 7th continent, fighting frantically for the treasure. But Jian Wushuang has no interest in these treasures. He was not very fast along the way, so he went straight towards the most central stepping peak of the 7th continent. On the way, naturally encountered many practitioners. That dress and that look is the Lord of the Blood Sword. It's him. Wasn't he on the 1st continent before, and it's not long since he fought with the Empty Master? Why is he now on this 7th continent? The 7th continent is located at the center of the other continents. There were a lot of strong men who had been here. Now there is a blood sword master who has the top dominating combat power. Now we want to get the treasure. Difficulty. Even bigger. No, except that the Lord of the Blood Swords contended for the highest treasure in the 3rd continent for the first 5,000 years. The next thing he moved around in other continents, challenged the master, but did not participate in the highest treasure of the treasure. Obviously he is no longer interested in those precious treasures born in the Red Cloud realm, and now he comes to this 7th continent, either to challenge the strong or to come towards the Tianfeng peak. Treading Tianfeng? Many practitioners on the 7th continent could not help shaking. Although they are all on the 7th continent, and they all know the existence of Taishanfeng, the test in Taishanfeng is too difficult. They have no possibility at all, so they have always regarded that Taishanfeng as the impassable mountain in my heart. And now Jian Wushuang deliberately rushed to this seventh continent, and looking at the direction of his advance, it is clear that he came towards that peak. The Lord of the Blood Sword, it seems that he is really going to break into Tianfeng. Well, stepping on the peak of the sky is a legend. Although the Red Cloud realm has existed for so many years and has been born so many times, there are also countless powerful men who have come forward to it, but so far no one can really leave. At the top of the mountain, although the Lord of the Blood Swords is against the sky, I am afraid that he still cannot break through. It is difficult to say that the Lord of the Blood Sword has the top dominating power at the level of the Rule Master. He is completely hopeful to make a breakthrough. Maybe he really broke through? A large number of practitioners on the seventh continent talked. Stepping on the peak of the sky is an insurmountable mountain for many people, and they do not see any hope of breaking through. But the sword unparalleled, it is the first evil in this star field ever. The Rule Master level has the top dominating combat power, so against the sky, this also let them see a glimmer of hope. Maybe Jian Wushuang can really break through? Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to the thoughts of these practitioners. He went all the way forward and soon reached the center of this seventh continent, just before stepping on Tianfeng. In front of me is a towering blood-colored giant peak. This blood-colored giant peak is directly inserted into the top red cloud. When people stand in front of this blood-colored giant peak, they can only feel two words, which is small. Even if it was Jian Wushuang coming to this giant peak, his heart couldn't help shaking. This giant peak is really too towering and its breadth is too magnificent. Standing under Tianfeng, even though Jian Wushuang couldn't help raising a trace of awe. It is said that the peak of Tian Peak is connected to the second heaven and earth of the Red Cloud realm. Unfortunately, from the birth of Red Cloud realm to the present, no one in this star domain has ever been able to truly set foot on the peak of Tianfeng. Sword Warrior's Secret Road. From the mouth of Xianshan, Jian Wushuang also knew a little about this step to Tianfeng. This stepping Tianfeng is the only way to reach the second heavy sky of the Red Cloud realm. Anyone who comes to the stepping Tianfeng cannot go directly to the sky, but must go up from the bottom of the peak step by step, and finally reach the peak. But on the way to the summit, there are two tests, to be precise, two guardians. Only by passing the test of these two gatekeepers can we go to the top of the sky. As for whether or not there is a third test after reaching the summit of peaking at www.novel.com, that is, the existence of a third gatekeeper, it is unknown. After all, no one has set foot on the peak. Even the strongest in this star field can only pass the test of the foot of the mountain, but when they reach the mountainside, they will be easily defeated by the gatekeeper on the mountainside. Even if it is the top master, I can only pass the test at the foot of the mountain, but I am not the master, just a ruler. This test of Tianfeng seems to have something to do with the practitioner's own realm. Sword Wushuang secretly thought. At the same time, it would be easily defeated by the gatekeeper who was guarded on the mountainside, which made Jian Wushuang quite surprised. You know, the man in black just said that the second-ranking dominator, even the second-ranking dominator, can't stand a shot in front of the guard who guards the mountainside? After all, the master is the master. Compared with the master of the rules, the requirements are naturally higher. I am only a master of the rules. To pass you, shouldn't you need the top master's combat power? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course it is not necessary, but it is not easy to pass me. You want to try it? The man in black looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. Of course, I don't just walk around here when I step on Tianfeng Peak. Jian Wushuang smiled. Okay. The man in black stood up. Let's get started. Just here. Jian Wushuang frowned. This is still at the foot of Tianfeng Mountain, and there is no spacious space around him to let them fight. Don't worry, not here. The man in black smiled. The tea you just ate is special. It can bring your consciousness into a special space. I also have a drink, so you and my consciousness will be in later. Fight in that special space, and in that special space, your strength can be used to the fullest, without any restrictions, even the power of Zhibao is the same. Oh! Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that the cup of tea he had just eaten had such an effect. You wait a moment, then the tea will be effective soon. The man in black said. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang only felt that his body was fluttering, and his consciousness was led by a special force, and soon came to a special space. Here is a vast sea area. This sea area has a range of hundreds of millions of miles, let alone the sword is unparalleled. Even if the digital second or even third dominated here, they can fight freely. It wasn't long after Jian Wu's double body condensed over the sea, and the figure of the man in black also appeared. Little guy, let's get out of it. The man in black smiled slightly, flipped it over, and took out a dark gun. Although this dark pistol spreads an ancient atmosphere, its power is very general, and it is obviously not very amazing. Sword Wushuang and nonsense. Huang Quan's Excalibur immediately emerged from the sheath. A shocking sky of swords swept up instantly. Huang Quan Excalibur was in hand, and the sword Wushuang immediately sensed the power of Huang Quan Excalibur. Sure enough, even in the space of consciousness, the power of this Huang Quan divine sword is the same as in reality. A smile appeared on Jian Wushuang's face, followed by his figure, and he had already shot directly. I saw a cold sword light, cut out directly over a distance. The sword was cut in the void, but a huge crack appeared in the sea below. Oh, dominate the level of combat power? The man in black appeared surprised. Chapter 3773. It's a bit of strength, no wonder it's so confident. The man in black smiled slightly. He guarded in this stepping sky peak. I do know how many years, in this star field alone, he has stayed for a few chaotic times, and in this long time, there are countless rulers come to challenge him, but these of the rule masters, there are very few that can erupt the level of dominance. And Jian Wushuang is undoubtedly one of them. However, even if you have the power to dominate and want to pass me, it is not so easy. The man in black looked relaxed and relaxed. After seeing Na Sin Lung Jingguang cut, he raised his hand and stabbed 3 shots straight forward. Put, put, put. As if 3 streamers flashed at the same time. One streamer hit the sword light directly and crushed the sword light directly, while the other 2 streamers came from the left and right towards the sword unparalleled. At the same time, a special mood has risen. For a while, Jian Wushuang felt that he had fallen into an endless wave, and the 2 streamers from the 2 bursts were 2 of them. Interesting. Jian Wushuang smiled, and his figure easily strayed from those 2 streamers, but before he continued to shoot, the man in black wobbled at random. Suddenly, I saw a large number of sprays sweeping over him. Densely, he came from all directions towards his body. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and the sword shadows burst out, destroying all the waves that swept away, but the number of those waves was too much, like an endless amount. Humph! Jian Wu's eyes were cold, and the divine power in his hand suddenly burst. A cold sword light suddenly swept out. This sword light, with an endless hatred, straddled the void in a destructive manner, and actually tore the waves in front of it. No matter how strong your artistic conception is, tear it directly. Jian Wushuang muttered. But the tide has just been torn. When I saw a lot of air waves rolling wildly, it seemed like endless waves rolling up in the sea. These waves are surging, the power of the carrier's astonishing power, and the endless assault of swords sweeping across. In a short time, Jian Wushuang seemed to be a lonely boat among the waves. This marksmanship. Jian Wushuang's bottom of his heart could not help raising a touch of shock. The power revealed by the man in black was not too strong. At most it was only the primary dominating level. But his marksmanship, especially the artistic conception in his marksmanship, was rich and scary. That mood is like an endless wave rolling, continuous, making Jian Wushuang completely trapped in it, unable to escape. The endless waves rolled, and among the waves exuding a breath of coldness were swept up by the continuous swords. The waves are endless. Jian Wushuang was completely drowned by these waves. In the face of these crazy waves, Jian Wushuang also fully exerted his sword skills, and saw countless sword lights coming out from his hands. The speed of these sword lights is extremely fast and extremely mysterious. Each sword light has the origin of Kendo universe and collides with those crazy waves. In a short period of time, Jian Wushuang collided tens of thousands of times with the waves around him. But the waves are endless, and they are still sweeping wildly. Great, this marksmanship. Endless, it's too powerful. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but admire. This is the true marksmanship. The artistic conception and the mystery contained in it are simply unpredictable. The martial arts encountered by those who are good at marksmanship are completely different. He has also met many strong men who are good at marksmanship before. He is also encountered by top masters like Supreme Master. However, whether it is those masters and masters who are good at marksmanship or top masters like the Supreme Master, their marksmanship is also extremely good, but most of them are relatively single, either purely mighty or extreme. Terrible. Although it also contains a good mystery, the artistic conception of marksmanship is not high. At least it wouldn't be like it is now. With a single shot, the sword unparalleled was drawn into the endless waves. This man in black, even though his might is not too powerful, is better than any other marksmanship he has encountered before. If you are only an ordinary ruler or an ordinary elementary master, as long as you are caught in this endless wave, there is almost no possibility of struggle. You can only be trapped in this wave and be born alive. Compared to the shock of Jian Wushuang, the man in black was quite surprised at the moment. This little guy, caught in my wave style, can persist for so long? The man in black couldn't help but look at Jian Wushuang more. Although because of his identity as a gatekeeper, when facing the ruler of Jian Wushuang, his strength cannot be exerted much, even if it is the wave style of the firing method now being cast, which contains the artistic conception and mystery. It is only 1/1000th of the peak period, but even so, it is not the master of the rules, or even the general primary masters can resist. But Jian Wushuang fell into this endless wave and persisted for so long, and continued to do so, which naturally made the men in black look a little eye-catching. Just then, plunged into the endless waves, seemingly passively resisting those spraying swords, and finally began to erupt. "I won't play with you. Break me!" Jian Wushuang screamed loudly. He didn't improve his power, just holding the sword in two hands and cutting out in anger. The strongest sword skill created by Jian Wushuang fell to Huangquan. A huge sword light swept out instantly, cold and ruthless, as if you can tear away all obstacles in front of you. The most important thing is that at the moment when Jingguang showed off, the man in black clearly felt a breath of the law of the universe from this sword. This sword. The man in black narrowed his eyes sharply. The cold and ruthless Jingguang was tearing all the obstacles in front of him, tearing the endless waves, and even the artistic conception of guns surrounding the surrounding world was smashed by strangulation. The endless waves disappeared directly. But the cold and ruthless Jingguang, but still slashing, continued to cut off to the black man in the rear. The man in black raised the spear in his hand and blocked it in front of him. Clang. With a loud noise, the figure of the man in black was extremely heavy, and he took a few steps back before he could stand still again. In the space of consciousness, the outcome is already known. Chapter 3774. Stepping into the peak, in the gazebo at the foot of the mountain. The eyes of Jian Wushuang and the man in black opened at the same time. "Senior, let it go." Jian Wushuang looked at the man in black and saluted slightly. Just before, Jian Wushuang only called this man in black as your lord, but after the battle in the consciousness space, Jian Wushuang understood that the other person's realm was much higher than himself, and he could be in the consciousness space. The main reason for defeating the other party is because the other party is the gatekeeper. In the face of being the ruler of one's own rule, the strength can only reach a certain level. As for the true strength of this man in black, there is no doubt that it is much stronger than Jian Wushuang. The shot he cast in the conscious space alone, the mystery contained in it, is enough to prove his monstrous strength. I didn't expect your ruler to have a breath of the laws of the universe, which is rare. The man in black looked at Jian Wushuang in admiration, then shook his head and said, although you have a bit of strength, you have also passed the level I defended, but what you will face next is the test of the mountainside. The one guarded at the mountainside, although the real strength is not much better than me, but at the mountainside, the combat power he can exert is far above me. If your strength is only the level of consciousness space just now, I advise you to give up directly because this kind of strength, there is no possibility to pass the test of the mountainside. The senior just lost too quickly. How do you know that it is my strongest strength? Jian Wushuang chuckled. Oh, looks like you still have more than just left? The man in black smiled slightly. Well, then I won't persuade it. Go, I hope you can break through the level on the mountainside. Jian Wushuang saluted the man in black again, then left the gazebo and continued to walk up the steps. Seeing Jian Wushuang leaving, the man in black sat down slowly and poured himself a bowl of tea. Looking at the little guy's appearance, just in the conscious space, he did not use all his strength. It may even hide a lot of his strength, otherwise he might not be so confident. The man in black groaned secretly. In his opinion, he has shown his weak means in the consciousness space, and he also shows that the test on the mountainside is more difficult than his own. But Jian Wushuang is still so confident, which has fully demonstrated that Jian Wushuang's strength is far from being as simple as the space of consciousness. And it is true. In the space of consciousness, the sword unparalleled is only his swordsmanship. As for the power he uses is also the primary level of dominance, which is the same as the man in black. As for the mysterious means and the highest treasure, he never used it. It can be said that most of his combat power is hidden and revealed in the space of consciousness just now, but only the tip of the iceberg. Because of this, when the man in black said how difficult the test at the mountainside was, Jian Wushuang didn't worry about it at all. Instead, he had absolute confidence. Oh, if that's the case, it's interesting. The man in black laughed suddenly, followed the thought, and passed the word. Old guy, a little guy will come to you right away. You can be careful. The little guy is not weak, so don't capsize in the gutter. After saying this, the man in black ignored the other's response and closed his eyes. After defeating the man in black in the space of consciousness, after passing the test of the foot of the mountain, Jian Wushuang continued to move forward. After walking thousands of steps, no two sides of the sword reached the mountainside where Tianfeng was reached. And beside the mountainside steps, there is a simple hut. The door of the hut was open, and Jian Wushuang stepped directly into the hut. The old man with white beard and white robe waved his hand, and immediately appeared 2 bowls of tea on the pour case in front of him. The old man with white beard and white robe handed one of the bowls to the front of the sword without double sides. Emperor Jiutian. Chapter 3775. With the encounter at the foot of the mountain, now seeing the old man with white beard and white robes taking out tea, Jian Wushuang will not be surprised at all. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang picked up a bowl of tea on the case and ate it. Ate into his stomach, Jian Wushuang's brow frowned. Unlike the tea taken by the man in black at the foot of the mountain, the tea of the man in black is quite bitter, but it has a flavor, and it is warm in the belly. But this white beard, white robe, the tea the old man brought out was extremely unpalatable. Why, it's hard to drink, right? The old man with white beard and white robe looked at it. No way, the old man is not good at making tea, but the effect of this tea is still the same, and it will bring you into a space of consciousness. You fight with your husband in the space of consciousness. After the old man with white beard and white robe said, he ate the bowl of tea in front of himself. Soon the effect of tea came into play, and the consciousness of the 2 men, Jian Wushuang and Bai Su Bai Pao, had already entered a special conscious space. This is no longer the vast expanse of the sea before, but the middle of a barren mountain range, with bare mountains all around and underneath. The sun is baking, and the air is a little hot. The old man with white beard and white robe stood in the void, different from the outside world. When the old man with white beard and white robe came to this consciousness space, he changed into a person and was full of monstrous breath. This breath is violent, hot and hot like flames. Little guy, pick up. The old man with white beard and white robe did not have any nonsense. In this conscious space, he shot directly. He didn't use any weapons, he simply relied on his palms turned red, as if he had just been burned by the fire. Volcano, collapse. With a loud drink, the old man with white beard and white robe slaps directly and shoots fiercely. In a short time, there were a lot of red air waves rolling out. These red air waves gathered in a frenzy, and they suddenly gathered into a towering mountain. This mountain is entangled with fire, burning everything in the world. Boom! The terrible flame mountain descended from the sky, and the delicate sword came without pressure. A burst of harsh and violent wind came from him. The wind was so huge that it was so difficult for Jian Jian's eyes to open. He could barely raise his head and looked at the endless mountains above. The power of that mountain is earth-shattering. Higher dominates the power, and this move is strong. Jian Wushuang's heart has an approximate strength to the old man with white beard and white robe. Like the man in black at the foot of the mountain, it is just the power of the primary dominator, but the marksmanship is superb and extremely powerful. And the old man with white beard and white robe, the power that erupted was definitely higher-level dominance, and the means by which he exerted, that the horrific waves of horrible mountains that were crushed by the towering mountains, were just rolling. The state of mind is fluttering, and these methods are no worse than that of the man in black. Perceived the mighty power of the majestic mountains, Jian Wushuang's strength will no longer be retained. The magic of life, the sky-cutting technique, and the willpower given by the laws of the universe are directly exerted at this moment. Break me! With a low roar, the sword with no hands in Huangquan's Excalibur broke out instantly. Starfire burning day. Wow! A fierce and direct sword light, with unprecedented violent momentum and momentum like a bamboo shoot, rushed out. Fight with violence. The same fury, the same power. In a blink of an eye, this fierce sword light collided with the towering mountains that fell from the sky. Ha! A loud noise roared the world. The majestic mountains that were so high were actually split directly by the fierce sword light. One sword splits the mountain, and the split is still the magnificent mountain of flames formed by the old man with white beard and white robes completely condensed by divine power. While I saw a large amount of mighty energy rushing in all directions, and the whole world was burning in a large area of flames. Oh! When the old man with white beard and white robe saw a towering volcano being split directly, his eyes lit up. Being able to split the old man's volcano directly is the first one. You little kid is really capable, but the old man's volcano is very serious. The mysterious 9-volcano mystery created by the old man, although the strength is limited now, the displayed power is only 1,000th that of the mystery, but it is not something ordinary people can resist. Boy, see how many volcanoes you can block the old man. As soon as the voice fell, I saw that the old man with white beard and white robes was surging wildly. The sky was filled with red air waves, one after another standing tall volcanoes taller than before. These volcanoes took shape, and each volcano contained more power and oppression than the previous one. Volcano, extinction. The old man with white beard and white robe roared. The volcanoes that had already formed were suddenly crushed away by a crazy sword that followed one another. The terrible power oppressed everything in the heavens and the earth. At this moment, under the feet of Jian Wu, the terrible power of the volcano above it couldn't withstand the terrible power of the volcanoes above it. Extinction breath. In the blink of an eye, the second volcano has arrived. And after the second volcano, followed by the third and fourth. As for the fifth block, it is in the process of cohesion. Is it 9 volcanoes? There was a shock in Jian Wu's eyes, but more was excitement. Bring it on. Jian Wushuang was not afraid, and his divine power burst out to the extreme. He knew that the volcanoes contained earth-shattering power, but he didn't mean to retreat, but instead stood up to the volcanoes and greeted them directly. Go up. Then boom. The dreaded sword light suddenly lights up. Put. Ha! Only a loud bang was heard, and the second volcano was smashed directly by Jianguang. Then came the third and fourth blocks. Even if it continues to condense, the fifth and sixth volcanoes with stronger power can't withstand the amazing power of Sword Wushuangjian. It was another loud noise. The seventh volcano was also split open by Jian Wushuang. The scene in front of him made the old man with white beard and white robes startled with astonishment, but followed him with a big laugh. Ha, good boy, the old man has been in this star field for several times of chaos. There are 3 in total. Chapter 3776. Being able to carry the old man's 7th heavy volcano, you are stronger than any ruler who came here before, but the old man's 9 heavy volcano mystic technique, although it is stronger than strong, starts from the 8th, it is qualitative transformation. Boy, see if you can still block the old man's 8th heavy volcano. The old man with white beard and white robe will laugh, and above that void, the 8th towering volcano has condensed. This volcano, in terms of volume alone, is much larger than the previous 7-fold volcano, and the power of volcano condensation is even more shocking. As the volcano slowly descended, the terrible wind was crushed down, and Jian Wushuang felt only a roar of his ears. This power is indeed much stronger than the 7 heavy volcanoes before. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly, but was not afraid. At the moment when the towering volcano came down, he suddenly burst out. A sword light suddenly lit, cold and ruthless, as if to tear all obstacles ahead. And in Jianguang, there was a hint of the law of the universe, and it collided with the volcano front that came slowly. Ha! A terrible roar shook the earth, and a large number of majestic powers madly scattered around. The 8th volcano condensed by the old man with white beard and white robe has collapsed and completely collapsed. But the cold and relentless dreadful sword light also slowly dissipated. The 8th heavy volcano was still countered by Jian Wushuang's front. The breath of the laws of the universe? The old man with white beard and white robe was shocked, and naturally he could see the breath of the laws of the universe contained in the sword that Wushuang just had. A ruler of all kinds was able to grasp the breath of the laws of the universe, which naturally surprised him. But the old man with white beard and white robe laughed again. Boy, you are very good, look at the husband's 9th heavy volcano. The majestic air flow gathered frantically, and the horrific power condensed in the sky above. In the blink of an eye, the 9th volcano had already formed. The volume of this volcano is not much stronger than that of the 8th volcano, but the power gathered in the volcano and the extinct atmosphere are much larger than the 8th heavy volcano. When this volcano was completely condensed, at that moment, the vast world was silent for a short time. This power is afraid that it is infinitely close to the top master. Jian Wu's eyes and pupils also shrank sharply. The 9th volcano condensed by the old man with white beard and white robe brought great pressure to him. At this juncture, Jian Wushuang no longer hid and pinched, and saw his body suddenly startled, and a sound of dragons rang out suddenly in the earth and the earth. This dragons was filled with monstrous resentment, and immediately became a pound. The evil spirits rushed out of the Wujin demon armor, directly covering Jian Wushuang's whole body. Wujin demon armor has the 2nd largest power, 30% of the power of demon dragons, and Jian Wushuang's strength has instantly increased to a level. You volcano, I'm tired of seeing it, let it go. The sword Wushuang spoke softly, and the Huangquan Excalibur in his hand was cut straight. The same fell into Huangquan. It is also cold and ruthless, as if it can tear away all the terrible sword lights in front of it. The difference is that the power that the sword Wushuang just blasted out at the moment is just the ultimate limit of higher masters, but now with the blessing of 30% of the dragon spirit, his power has barely reached the threshold of top masters. The top-level dominating level of mighty powers is falling into Huangquan. Of course, mighty powers are far from being able to compare. Wow! The cold and relentless sword light passed directly through the middle of the towering volcano. The 9th heavy volcano just gathered by the old man with white beard and white robe has not yet completely landed, and has been cut directly from this sword light by Jian Wushuang. The power of the sword light is unabated, and he continues to move toward Whitebeard, the old man beheaded. The old man with white beard and white robe changed his face, and was shocked by Jian Guang. His figure shivered and immediately receded to the rear, looking rather embarrassed. "Senior, let it go," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. "Top-level combat power?" The old man with white beard and white robe frowned, looking at Jian Wushuang diligently. In the dialogue between the two of them, their consciousness has slowly separated from this conscious space. On the peak of the mountain, in the hut on the mountainside, Jian Wushuang and the old man with white beard and white robe sitting on the futon opened their eyes at the same time. "Your boy, you have the top-level combat power?" The old man with white beard and white robe looked up at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang just smiled slightly. "Yes." The old man with white beard and white robe nodded his head in appreciation. The Red Cloud Realm has already had several chaos periods in this star field. In such a long time, I don't know how many rulers and masters come here break through, but before you, whether it is the ruler or the master, no one can pass by the old man. You are the first. The junior is just lucky, Jian Wushuang said modestly. A ruler has the top-level combat power, which is also luck? The old man with white beard and white robe gave the sword a pair of white swords, followed him and said, "But don't be too proud, although you have passed old man, but if you want to really set foot on the top of this peak, it is still not that easy." "Senior, do you mean that there are other gatekeepers on this peak?" Jian Wushuang asked with a frown. "Yes." The old man with white beard and white robe nodded. "Is it at the peak?" Jian Wushuang asked. "It seems you have guessed." The old man with white beard and white robe just smiled. Jian Wushuang was silent. "At the beginning, I learned from the Xian Shinto people that this stepping Tianfeng, and knowing that there are 2 tests on the foot of the mountain and the mountainside at that time, he was already thinking, on the peak of Tianfeng, is there a 3rd test? But no one can answer this question for him. After all, no one in this star field has been able to pass this level on the mountainside. Naturally, no one is qualified to go to the peak. Is there a 3rd test on the peak? No one knows. But now, he was finally the first to pass the mountainside test. The old man with white beard and white robe told him the 3rd test on the peak. "Senior, is the test on the peak the same as the foot of the mountain and the mountainside, to beat the guards?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Well, the old man can't tell you." The old man with white beard and white robe shook his head. "But the old man can tell you that the test on the top of the mountain is the last test in the first heavy day of the Red Cloud Realm. You only need to pass the top of the mountain. Test, you can go to the 2nd day of the Red Cloud world, and at the same time you can get some unexpected benefits." "Oh." Jian Wushuang looked and nodded. "Thank you for telling me." Emperor Juten, that you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.